Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup, though. Got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup, though.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back. George Morgan here at your service. It's PSGL, it's Wednesday night, it's Spain tonight as well. Lots on the table, lots of battling. The title contest is still alive and kicking. And Jack, it's only taken us 10 rounds. We're on the 11th. It's all to play for.
Boromant goes on the inside and takes the lead on the final lap of the race. Now it's side by side. Performance got the inside.
Literally a guest star here in this phenomenal race. Cameron Dowd looking to take P2 in his very first PSGL F1 PC race. Incredible to say the least. You see that Putin for lead. 1.5 seconds. DRS is the name.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to PSGL once again for the E-Series Championship here tonight at Britain, the Great Britain Silverstone, a brilliant circuit, and it's our second time here. Many tracks we haven't really been to twice before here in this championship, bar a couple, and this is one of them. We was here last season where Ferrari took first and third, but this season, Josh, it hasn't quite looked that way, has it, so far for the Ferrari team?
No, it's really not looked too great for him, has it? Only 2 podiums out the first 5 rounds. They're certainly going to be looking to try and maybe alter a little bit of their performance, because currently sitting in P6 in the standings is not where they want to be, being beaten by numerous amounts of community teams. But the community teams, you've got to give them credit where credit's due. They've certainly stepped up so far this season. But I'm just wondering, do you reckon we could maybe get it pulled up on screen for us so we can all have a little bit of a peep? There we go. Beautiful. So, everyone at home, we all know how to count. I don't need to tell you all how to count. We could see a point gap between F7R and Williams being only 3 points. Now, with the way sort of the momentum's been swinging, F7R, they've slowly started to produce less points per race. And then, of course, Williams had that phenomenal result around Paul Ricard, but not as great around Austria. Well, it's certainly going to be interesting sort of seeing how they're going to respond. Obviously, we've had a week break since Austria. Give them a little bit more breathing room, an opportunity to try and move forward, to try and overtake F7R in this championship. With R8G in third, with that 1-2, I mean, you talk about teamwork, Richie, around Austria. It was fantastic from both of them.
It was. They did a superb job, and then just behind them we got SRC 1 point back on 152, and then Race Clutch in 5th on 150. So just 35 points separates the top 5 in the championship. Ferrari as well. Surprised to see them, surprised to see them so far down on 131 points in P6. Only about 20 ahead of Veloce coming in 7th, and 8th is TF10, 20 points back from them. Then 9th and 10th, NVR and Thomas Sheng Sim Racing still not really getting the foot in at the door, are they, at all?
No, a lot of it can be down to, the poor qualifying, not being able to find the time of the race as well. But you've got to start thinking, maybe they're just not able to find the opportunity when it comes. It certainly seems to flow that way, especially for the Thomas Enge Sim Racings, They quite often find themselves in amongst the points on a bit of an alternate strategy. But they always end up seeming to fall down. They're trying a little bit too hard, I think. They might be overdriving the car. They might be overthinking the strategy as well. There's loads of different things which sort of go into these decisions which the teams make. And a lot of the times, it seems to quite viciously bite back on them. But we know Silverstone, it's one of those, you can be a bit creative with the strategy. Think all the way back to when Michael Schumacher decided to serve a penalty in his pit box after the Grand Prix. There's many different ways you can kind of skew around Silverstone and really try and bring your own method to the party and try and, just run a little bit different to the rest of the crowd. And if you are the likes of Thomas Enge Sim Racing and Novus Racing, a TF10, you've got to try and make points somewhere, so why not start on round 6? We've only got 5 rounds left, right? You might as well go for it.
Yeah, I think, the teams have shown that you can score so many points in one round. The likes of RHG last week scored, I think it was 55 points in Austria, which is pretty much what Novus and Thomas Sheng Sim Racing have. So it shows that you can score lots and lots of points. But we can have a look at the lineups for tonight, and we can see TF10 with Tony Roche making, I believe, his 3rd appearance this season alongside Joel Marquardo. I believe his TF10 Marcados when he was over back on PlayStation. Ferrari with their normal lineup being Nicholas Longay and Istvan Pukki. Race Clutch have Lenny Papinta and Patrick Seapass. Then we have Veloce Academy with Szymon Lukomski and Otis Lawrence, who took P3 last time out in Austria. Then Tamas Gal racing for his first time here for the R8G team. Now I'm excited to see what he can do in a new team. Obviously driving in the Sabre car alongside Julian Klaffenbach. That's a team not to mess around with.
Very hot prospects indeed. Looking forward to see if they're able to kind of recreate what we saw the likes of Thomas Ronhard do last week. Not necessarily getting the great qualifying, but working the way through the field. We know Tamas has the skill. He's displayed it numerous times in F2. Displayed it on the rare occasions he's been able to perform in F1. For me, it might be one of the drivers. Just keep an eye out for in this race. But I've already made my predictions behind the scenes. But I feel like we can, dabble a little bit further into that once we start seeing a couple of these laps on the board. And then I'll openly and very confidently state it. But we can see right now we've got quite a few of the drivers out on that intermediate lap, just sort of prepping their cars, making sure everything's working hardware-wise. There's no wheel malfunctions. The pedals are all in order, and it's just one of those. Silverstone, it's a relatively normal circuit, right?
Yeah.
We don't have the close walls, we don't have gravel traps which are trying to pull you in, we don't have vicious curbs trying to chuck you off, but we do have track limits being very, very strict, especially heading through Stowe. It can be one of those things which some drivers might get caught out on. But at the same time, you would expect drivers of this quality to understand where they can take the risks. Going through the likes of Abbey, also Village, they can take a little bit of risks, backing up a little bit towards the loop, just making sure they're staying within track limits. It's something they will constantly be thinking about and measuring themselves too. And I probably expect when we get towards the end of this qualifying session, when the track's getting even more rubbered in than what it is already, that's when we're going to start seeing those invalidations crop up, when they're pushing to the utmost extent.
Of course, and I think, looking at this grid, we've got yet again a very strong closed grid here tonight. So Q1 and Q2, the elimination zone could be very, very interesting and very high pressured for many of those drivers that get put down in towards that elimination zone. We could see there, Otis Lawrence goes to the top there with the 129.02. Ishmael Fassi will head to the line in the Williams and go to the top with the 128.889. A few cars still working their way through on the intermediate tyres. And also we have a poll in the chat, and so far at least 10 of you have voted for other, but none of you said who. So make sure to get into the chat, guys, who you voted for, what team you think will take victory here, take pole here tonight. I can see as well Williams having 32% of the votes, so they're also going to be looking strong here tonight, I think, considering where they are in the championship, having Ishmael and Will Lewis, of course, here tonight. A very, very strong team. Will, I don't think, has raced yet this season in E-Series, but last season raced, I think it was 6 out of 8 races, so he's a driver as well that we should definitely be keeping our eyes on here. Of course, it's his home Grand Prix as well, so we'll also be a bit more inclined to doing well here around the Silverstone circuit, as we saw there, Frank Mraviak popping himself up into P4 on the intermediate tyres, but still all the way down from 6th to 20th, still yet to go out and set a time. And obviously those in the top 5 haven't really got a representable time, so they'll be heading back out again soon to see what they can do around this circuit on a brand new set of fresh, soft tyres.
Yeah, they're certainly just waiting for that opportunity, aren't they? They're letting the intermediates finish their laps, get the track a little bit more rubbered in before they can actually go ham on that soft compound tyre. Something I also want to mention is how many times so far this season, Nathan, try and count, have we, overlooked F7R for a chance at pole? I know we've been so guilty of it, but almost every single week they're getting both drivers up into Q3. One of them's make a challenge for the top 3, and will quite often find themselves on pole, locking out a front row. We've seen it time and time again. So it'll be interesting to sort of see whether they're able to maybe persuade a couple of you in chat to maybe change your vote. We won't say anything. We won't say anything. We know we've been wrong before. That's perfectly fine. As we do have our first disconnect of the session, unfortunately.
Well, what a start it has been. Someone's always going to have it. Someone's, of course, going to have a disconnect at the start of the session. But obviously, talking of F7R, they have Tiger Hardy and Black Box, who's also known as Race Imtiaz. So we'll see what those two can do here tonight in the AlphaTauri for the F7R team. Tiger Hardy, we know, very, very quick. Took pole in Spain. Obviously, Louis Valentine took pole back in Baku. So, they've got 2 poles there, 5 so far. It's looking strong, of course, for the F7R team. And, well, we'll see what they can do here tonight. Last night out in Canada, in F2, Tiger Hardy did get a 3rd place as well. So even in F2, he's still looking very, very strong. And I think he's looking to fight for own 2nd in the championship over there as well. So he's a driver definitely to keep an eye on here tonight in Silverstone. A few cars now heading out onto circuit on a set of the soft tyres. The first one, I believe, being one of the RHGs. It will be Tamas Gal who heads out first. No, it won't. It'll be one of the Hasses which will head out first, which will be MVR. I'll keep getting used to seeing Julian and Tamas in a Haas car, not a Sauber.
No, it's certainly going to be something we're going to have to keep an eye on. But it is Nico Benz, who, of course, if you're not familiar, or you may have perhaps missed the qualifying segment for E-Series, set the joint quickest lap time he's a young driver with ample other potential, and he's got a real great opportunity so far in E-Series, hasn't he, to be able to display that potential and get some of these bigger teams to take notice. For likes of Williams, for likes of Ferrari, for likes of the Lotte Academy, all of them are going to keep their eye, or at least one eye, on what Nico Benz is able to do here today. But you've got to consider, you know, having so many eyes on him builds a bit more pressure.
It does indeed, and I think that's the same as well for Timo Zelenkovic, who's obviously partnering Nico Benz in the Haas tonight. He got 10th back in Baku, and since then the team really haven't achieved much, so a lot of pressure is on Timo and Nico tonight to score good points, because they've both proven it before. They can get, you know, they can get podiums, they can get top fives, which I think is something MVR now really need to set in stone. They need to be getting points, they need to be getting in the top 10 every single round for the next 5 rounds, otherwise they're really going to be in compromisation. And even if they get to a position 1 race maybe near the end where they could go for a win or a podium, it might not mean much because of how far back they might be. So they've really got to nail it in now and get some decent points, and that obviously starts in qualifying. We know points aren't made in qualifying, but we know it definitely matters a lot, and you know, of where the drivers can start the race, and of course that really matters then where you tend to finish, unless you don't do very good in the race pace, which I think it's possible. But to be fair,
it's unlikely.
With the fact of it being a DRS train, you don't really need to be quick, do you? Let's be honest. All you need to do is stay within a second of the driver ahead. All the drivers here are within a second of each other.
Yes, absolutely. And all of them have the racing IQ to understand how to work in the DRS train effectively and efficiently so they don't lose too much time. But we are starting to see a couple of these drivers get out on their hot laps here, and it'll be both the TF10 drivers taking the lead here, with Joel Marquardt leading the way to Tony Roche. Now, Tony Roche has been a very interesting hot topic for me as of recent. You know, I do the broadcasts over in F3. I do relatively enjoy watching Tony race, and you know, over the course of a season, and I think it's been quite transparent on E-Series as well, he's been improving his qualifying pace at an alarming rate of knots. I'm not sure what he's doing, what Weetabix is having, but he's certainly found a little bit more pace out of the qualifying segments. We know his racecraft. It can be very aggressive. It can be very firm, but he does make it work. He's not one of those to try and shy away from an overtake just because it's a big name. He's more than willing to kind of put himself in those vulnerable positions where he can lose positions and he can fall out of DRS train. So I feel like this is going to be a real great test for him around Silverstone to really try and, you know, see what he's capable of when it is such a close pack.
Indeed, and I think a good thing about this circuit, you know, on a whole, is the fact that it's been raced on many different games, in many different cars. All the drivers here know this circuit by the back of their hand, which I think is something that definitely will come into play tonight. But we can see the 2 TF10s now heading through into the final corner. It'll be Joel Marquardt first up to the line, sets a 125.0. What can Roche do at 124.8? Already dunking his teammate by about a tenth and a half so far in this session. A few cars left to come through. It'll be the 2 race coaches heading through into the final corner. Lenny Pinto there into 4th as Nico Benz takes 3rd. And Patrick Sipos up to the top there by a tenth and a half to Tony Roche. So a brilliant lap there from Patrick. We'll see a few more cars come through. Will Lewis to the line. He goes to the top there with a 0.741. And already, Josh, it seems like the track is seeming to evolve.
Yes, it will certainly be a key feature of his qualifying session. Watching the track evolve, watching these cars get quicker and quicker with every single running lap being done. But the one thing the drivers will have to take into consideration will be the amount of tyre sets they have available. They've only got a set amount. They've got to be careful. They can't just burn them all through in this Q1 session. They're going to have to take the time. They're going to have to prep properly. And we might even see 1 or 2 drivers which are, you know, if they're able to set the standard around Silverstone in this Q1 session, might only want to try and go for 1 run on a fresh set of soft tyres in Q2, so they can have as many pairs as they can run in the Q3 session. Of course, the times will decrease, the amount of drivers will decrease. We will have to say goodbye to 5 drivers out of this session, and then 5 drivers out of Q2, and then we'll be left with a top 10 battling it out for pole position. But you look at this grid, you can't really pick out a single name which you would think wouldn't be able to make it into Q3, because all of them are so talented and so competitive with one another.
Of course, you know, already looking at some of these times there, you can see, you know, from P2 down to around P15, it's only around 3 tenths of a second. So it shows already how close it is between all those. But at the moment, after the first runs here in qualifying, obviously in that drop zone is going to be Nico Benz for NVR, Louis Welch for SRC. Lenny Pepinta for Race Cushion. That is a big, big surprise. Kuba Wozniak for TES and Julian Klaverbach for RHG, but he's still yet to get out onto a lap. He's obviously disconnected earlier on, so hopefully he can make his way back out onto track shortly and get himself some decent laps in. But I've noticed Ferrari not particularly looking that strong. P12 and P13 are 0.9 for both. That's 4/10 off of Otis Lawrence's time. That's still 2/10 off of the time of Will Lewis in second.
Yeah, it's not a great start for Ferrari, is it?
No.
For this championship. And I say start, and that's being very generous. Of course, we've got the 11-round calendar. We did round 5 2 weeks ago, and now we're at round 6. And, with the recent form, being able to pick up 2 podiums at the entire season, it's not looking good. It's really not looking good for our defending champions here in E-Series. But we can be surprised. We can be pleasantly surprised. They're not that far away. It's only relative, 54 points to F7R up at the top? They can claw that back.
Yeah, that can be scored in one race weekend. So, it's going to be hard, isn't it? But I think the biggest issue is the fact that all the other teams are so consistent. Even if they do score that many amount of points, the teams that are ahead of them won't be that far behind on points, will they?
Absolutely. I'll take this for an example, Richie. F7R, they've only scored 2 podiums, the same as Ferrari. Actually identical. Both of them have a P2 and a P3. But because F7R have been consistently scoring points, whether it's a 7th, a 4th, a 7th, a 5th, a 9th, a 4th, and an 8th, they find themselves at the top of the standings, where Ferrari have somewhat struggled, an 8th, 7th, 9th, 14th, 6th, 13th, and 18th. It just really goes to show. We always say consistency is key in these sort of team championships, and that's a prime example of it. F7R have consistently just been grabbing a handful of points every single time, waiting for other teams to make mistakes, to slip up, to drop points here and there. That's the reason why they're leading the championship.
Of course, and obviously to play here, there is obviously, of course, £1,000 that is to play for. The teams want to be pushing hard. They want to be getting the money into their back pocket. For some teams, it means not as much, for some of the factory teams. But for some of the community teams, that money's quite a lot. We know, I think is it £100 or £150, which goes to the best community team. F7R will be more than happy to take that money to put into their back pocket and give towards the drivers, or maybe to use to develop on resources. That's something they'll be very happy with, and it seems like that's a good motivator because they've been very strong this season. Obviously, they didn't make it through in E-Series Season 1. They didn't make it through in E-Series Season 2. Made it through in Series 3. People will be thinking, they're going to be maybe a bit of an outlier. They might be a little bit near the bottom, or maybe they'll be an underdog team. They've done more than an underdog. They're literally at the top of the standings. It's a little bit like watching Luke Littler, isn't it? Comes into, obviously, the World Darts Championship thinking, what's he going to do? He's not going to do that well, surely. He might be, in the mid-table, and then becomes the best, which literally is what F7R have done here.
You and your darts references, Richie. You can't get away from it.
I could make some horse references for the horse racing, but I don't know as much about that. Or Formula 1 references, which I could make, but Charles Leclerc really hasn't made that step yet, has he?
Right, okay, uncalled for. But let's move swiftly on from... Okay, right, that hurt a little too much. Do we have to? Well, looking here, Nicholas Longuet, I've got my faith. And Nicholas Longuet, he's a very talented driver. He stays calm, he's composed. This is going to be one of his opportunities here where he's able to show that he can lead the team. Himself, Istvan Pukki, you could argue there might be a bit of a dynamic there between which driver would necessarily be the lead, which one kind of orchestrates how stuff's going to go. Because at this point, you're looking at a couple of these teams and you can identify the leader of the team. Right? Yeah. Veloce Academy, Otis Lawrence. Clear as day. SRC, Riccardo Benzoni. They've got that driver which is able to make the calls on the fly in confidence. Yeah. For me, I think Ferrari are lacking that. I feel like both of them tend to lean on each other a little bit too much. Very much as how Sergio Perez leans on Max Verstappen for all the points in the constructors. But, it's not that drastic at Ferrari. But this is going to be a great statement for either Nicholas Longuet or Istvan Pukki to really be able to put their foot down, put their name out there, and say, no, Ferrari's my team. Yep. I'm going to help rebuild this. I'm going to help us come back in E-Series. This is our time.
Already, Josh, Nicholas Longuet is up by 2/10 in the first sector alone. He's already on for P2 with the first sector. So I think maybe he made a mistake last time, or the worrying part is the track is evolving that much. Everyone is finding that much time in the first and second sector. If that's the case, the end is going to be interesting. And Julian, I don't think he'll get back in there, Josh. He's at last. Unless they had a qualifying ban, I don't think Julian could get back in. I'm not quite sure, though, if they did have a qualifying ban. I'll have a quick check.
Yeah, no, he did rejoin and then he's disconnected again, but he doesn't have a qualifying ban to my knowledge. I believe we only had time penalties around Austria, which is a lovely little release for us, considering we had an entire Q1 session based around intermediate tyre runs around Austria. So every single lap matters here, and we're going to see Nicolas Longe come across the line, up into P2, brilliant stuff from him. But where the rest of these drivers going to feed out, Tamas Gal into P9, not the ideal start for the new boy at RHG. Nico Benz flies himself up into P7. We also have Louis Welsh jumping up into P3. Istvan Pukki next across the line, up into P4. These are the sort of lap times we need to start seeing more and more of. Tony Roche up into P3. We've got a Merc coming across the line. TS Franek Morawiak doing a brilliant job to get himself up into P3. We do have one of the AlphaTauris coming across the line. That's going to be Race all the way in P15. It might not be enough. We've got Lumanovsky there jumping up into P8. There's a lot of jumping about here. Marquardt into 13th. Pushes Reyes down. We've got Tash Gal now also in that knockout zone at 16th. It's really not going to be the start to RHG after the 1-2 they've had. Where's Riccardo Benzoni going to be able to put it? And he's dived it back into the pits.
Yeah, and
well,
that's
a bit of a shocker.
Yeah, the biggest story there, Josh, I think, is being SRC having a driver in the drop zone, but also RHG having both drivers there in Q1. Tamas Gal is a driver I had in the back of my mind for pole position, not for P16. So that is a big surprise to see Tamas Gal near the drop zone. But Otis Lawrence was the quickest driver on his opening lap by a 10th to Nicolas Longe in second. Then FVR. I'm thinking of the other championships now. Let me get my words out. TES in third with Franek. Lovely. Finally getting a good time on the board. They need that. They definitely need that. Then we have Tony Roche in fourth, Louis Welch in P5, followed by Istvan Pukki in sixth, Will Lewis in seventh, Shimon in eighth, Patrick ninth, and Tiger Hardy in the top 10. Then we have Ismail Fassi, Nico Benz, Lenny Papinta, Joe Marquardt, and Timo Zlenkovic in the top 15. And in the drop zone, Tamas Gal, Black Box, obviously Ray Imtiaz, Riccardo Benzoni, Kuba Wozniak, and Julian Klaffenbach. A 0.8 was the knockout. I was expecting a 0.6 or 0.7, not a 0.8. Yes. So maybe I was wrong about the track evolving.
Perhaps. Maybe there might have been a couple of mistakes here.
But it's getting more overcast, Josh. Does that have a sign for rain?
Well, I'll tell you what. If you want to donate a super chat, I'm sure me and Richie can do a rain dance. But I'm afraid I don't feel like it'll add too much to it because we don't have anything forecast. Your locally serious weatherman says it's going to be dry for the remainder of qualifying.
Well. That's okay. That's upset me a little bit. I would have liked a bit of a wet end to qualifying, but I guess we won't have that. But coming through towards this session now, a key thing to notice: NVR. Both drivers comfortably, I could say, into Q2. That is good signs for Q3. Nico Benz, I think, was 9th, and then we had Timo Zlenkovic around that area as well. That is very good for the NVR team. We know they need to get points. I'm sure they've said to all their drivers, we need to get points tonight. And I'd say this is arguably, I think these two were teamed before. This is arguably the best team, the team grid they've had. Obviously, Nico Benz, we know in F2, he's a podium sitter, took P2 in the first round. Timo Zlenkovic took P10 in Baku, the first race of the season here in E-Series. So they've both proven they've got the pace to fight for podiums. They've got the pace to fight for wins. But just about getting it right on the day. And this track so far, looking comfortable for the team. But F7R at a bit of a disadvantage because Williams are looking strong. Tiger Hardy was P10, Ray Imtiaz was P16. So they're on a bit of a back foot here going through and towards this race. And also to notice Patrick Seepos was looking strong at the front as well. And Julian got in after he got the DNF qualifying or the not classified time.
It's going to be very unfortunate for Julian, but we know what he's capable of. Both of the RHE drivers being knocked out in Q1. It's a little bit of a shock, but we know they put in a phenomenal lineup last week. This could, I don't want to say arguably be a weaker lineup because the matter of fact is they didn't have Thomas Ronhar this week. No matter who they put in, they could have put in, a Jarno Otmir. In my opinion, it still would have been a weaker lineup, to be honest with you, because whatever Thomas Ronhar's able to do on this game, he just seems absolutely phenomenal. Everything he touches turns to gold. But certainly, one of the drivers who's looking to try and turn his form into a little bit of gold here will be Ismail Fassi. Didn't have the safest Q1 session, did he? He was outside the top 10. Yeah. But you can imagine that he's not going to be happy with that. We've spent enough time watching Ismail Fassi develop and understand the sort of driving styles and methodology he has. Unless it's perfect, he's not happy with himself.
Of course. Well,
And that it's insane to think, but he just holds himself into such high standards.
I think one thing to look at is that obviously back in esports when we had the Bahrain race, so quite a while back ago, the only round we had, Ismail Fassi I think finished 8th. He's finished top 10 in the biggest esports series there is on the game, so I think he should be holding himself to those high standards along with his teammate Will Lewis. So I think both of these two tonight could be looking to fight for podiums. Big slide though from Ismail Fassi as he heads through the end of that second sector at Chapel. Purple in that middle sector, but still not many of the drivers obviously have gone through to set a middle sector time. Obviously the only driver behind him close enough is Patrick Sipos, who's only just exited that second sector, and Ismail Fassi will be bidding the lap. Back into the pits he goes. Will Patrick Sipos finish the lap? He heads down in towards the Interstow at turn 16, gets back on the power, has a bit of a slide on the exit. He's also going to enter back in towards the pit lane. Then we got one of the Ferraris out on track. That'll be Nicholas Longate. We'll see what he can do, if he's going to stay out on his lap or if he's going to head back into the pits. It seems to be a common affair so far from the drivers. But NVR, I think with the position they're in, they've got to set the laps, haven't they?
Yes, absolutely. There's an opportunity granted to them here. They've got that little opportunity, that slight little hope to be able to get something off the board here. Heading into this qualifying, it's looking good for him, but Timo Zlenkovic has that little wobble there, and it'll be the infamous scrub set out lap once again for a lot of these drivers.
Yeah.
Going out, scrub set, don't want to waste full tyre, so they just go and enjoy themselves. They go make sure they test their equipment once again before trying to crack out a lap. It's on an old set of scrubbed soft tyres, so a lap time wouldn't be phenomenal anyway, but it does just give them another couple of laps to familiarise themselves, remember the braking zones, the turning points, get that muscle memory reactivated, and then we can certainly start seeing them move further forward into this qualifying session, and we could even see them maybe setting quicker lap times than those who didn't decide to go out on the scrubbed set.
Yeah, indeed. I think these first laps here in Q2 matter quite a lot because it shows what your pace is like generally on a set of the used compound or soft. Because I think we know a few drivers will of course go out on a used set. And if they can't perform well in the U set in Q2, if they do get through to Q3, that also means with the U set, they could be a little bit further back. So, they might not be in the best position. And also, thank you to Yorit for the PSGL super fan. I believe that is his second month having the membership. And, of course, that is, the owner of SRC, Sim Racing Centre, the owner, of course, of our sponsor, and also the owner of the Team SRC Esports, which, unfortunately, you aren't looking as strong tonight, but maybe that super fan has really edged the team to get a little bit better, and maybe we could see both of them finish on the podium. I'm sure Yorit would like that. I'm sure we all would secretly like that. And I think we know one person, don't we, Josh, that would like that. And I'm sure that person is in your room right now.
Yes, Bob. if you're not familiar with Bob, after his qualifying session, we'll play a little ad break so you can have a look at some of the products SRC offer. New F1 24 setups for day of release. I've heard pretty decent. I've heard it through the grapevine with the testing runs. They're looking pretty nice. So I'll see if Bob's ready to go on camera. Bob was sorting out his shirt the other day, making sure he got all the makeup to make himself look beautiful in front of camera. But enough of a Bob chow, because we're getting to the nitty gritty here of this Q2 session. 8 minutes left. All the drivers supposedly out on a fresh set of tyres.
Indeed.
Do I necessarily believe that looking at a couple of these sets? No, I could see they're not as shiny as others, but it'll be very evident which ones are on a fresh set of tyres. And as we see MVR's Nico Benz taken to the start-finish line to get himself underway with this qualifying lap. Now, if you're not familiar with Silverstone, you've got the new layout. I say new, it's been around for a very long time now, but to me it's still new. But he's approaching into Village. He'll slide that rear end around just to try and get a bit more rotation. You can really see he's pushing the car into loop here, looking to run all the way onto that AstroTurf. Brilliant stuff before ending up at the Wellington Straight. DRS wide open, 7th gear, 8th gear. You can see that battery getting drained on his steering wheel, really trying to push it in here into Brooklands before it ends up swooping back to the right for a cheeky little double apex at Luffield, trying to make sure he minimises the total track distance. Brilliant stuff there, running it out to the AstroTurf once again before coming down to Woodcut. The old start-finish straight forever, my beloved, before we approach the critical corner itself. Turn 9 at Cops. Brilliant stuff there. There was no Red Bull on the outside to distract him. Heading into Maggotts, Beckett's and Chapel here, of course. Turns 10, 11, 12, 13, and then approaching onto 14 here, the left-hand side. We're just going to keep an eye on the track limits, and he's done that absolutely beautifully. Heading down the hanger straight before rising up the hill. There's a little bump in the braking zone heading up into Stowe. We'll see if Nico Benz can spot it. He doesn't need to. He drives over it beautifully, putting that car through so much lateral load. It really doesn't want to stick to the floor, but it does so beautifully. Now to the left here for the Vale chicane. Over the left, over the right, clatter the curb. Run it nice and out wide, just to that little zone there once again. And he comes across with a 24.8.
It's a very nice opening lap time, isn't it? Of course, from Nico Benz. We've got a few more cars coming through. First will be Patrick Sheepos. We'll see, can he try and get himself any quicker than the time there from Nico Benz? He heads through into the final corner now. What will it be for the race clutch up to the top with the 24.574? Then we got coming through will be Lenny Pinter into second. Tony Roche, he goes now into second. What about the McLaren? That will, of course, be Otis Lawrence coming through. What can he do? Can he go to the top? Only second this time for the Veloce Academy driver. And the key thing there, Josh, is he's a 10th down on his Q1 time.
Yeah, I'm not, maybe a scrubbed set, but even then it's a very impressive lap time to sort out on a scrubbed set of tyres. As we see Nicholas Longate come across the line with a 24.4, and we've still got many drivers looking to try and improve their lap times and get themselves up on the board. Tycho Hardyville with a 24.6 as well. Keep a special eye on him because we know he can unleash a little bit of magic, as well as Fredrik Morawiak approaching the Vale chicane now, beautifully negotiates himself through the left, through the right, trying to get that full throttle all the way pinned down. But it's only P11 at 24.7.
Indeed, then we can see obviously coming through as well, Shimon Lekomsky in the Veloce Academy team. He goes up into P7 there ahead of his teammate Otis Lawrence. And there, the drop zone looking very, very interesting. We can see it's going to be Will Lewis for Williams. Lenny Pinter yet again in the drop zone, this time in P12. Then we have Frenek, Nico and Joel Marquardt in the drop zone. I'm not sure if Joel's on a lap. I don't think he is because he's got very low battery as he heads out that first sector. So far, it's looking very tight yet again down in the drop zone. And Turner O'Shea and Tiger Hardy sitting P9 and P10 on the exact same lap time, 30 thousandths ahead of P11. That just shows how close this grid is. And, well, so far, Ferrari looking, well, they might have pulled the blinder in Q1 to confuse us a bit because they're now sitting first and third, comfortably ahead of Otis Lawrence, who was very quick earlier on. And also, nice to see Timo Zelenkovic and Louis Welch in P5 and P6.
Yes, absolutely. It's brilliant to see such a variety here once again. It's always one of those little mystery events, isn't it, where you can never really predict who's going to go where, who's going to do what. And for me, that's just what helps make E-Series so special in comparison to other tournaments. Yes, it's a team championship. There's a fair few about. But when you get a grid as competitive and as stacked as this with talent, you can never expect anything to happen because you'll quite often find an F7R will come out of nowhere, put it on pole when, you know, they just skimmed through into Q3 by the skin of their teeth, and it's utterly fantastic. But I do have a little bit of information on Joel Marquardt there.
That is?
He's only got one set of fresh tyres left to use.
Oh, now that is really not ideal because we know that he'll need a new set to use in Q2 to get through to Q3. But if he wants to fight for pole, he's got to use a new set in Q3 to get any chance of looking to fight for pole. So, a very unfortunate situation here for the TF10 car. Tony Roche looking a bit more comfortable at the moment in his Red Bull, but we'll see as well what he can do for the team. And obviously in the top 10 we got both of the Ferraris, both of the McLarens being Veloce Academy. And then after that, we've got another 8 teams which have got their sole drivers in the top 10, obviously being Williams, Race Clutch, SRC, NVR, TF10 and F7R.
Yeah, it's gonna. Right, thinking about this from a logical standpoint, we saw drivers retire nice and early in that Q1 session. Turned out track evolution wasn't as strong as we thought. That leads me on to exactly what Nicholas Longate did and retired from the session. Because to be quite honest with you, I think a 0.6 might be safe.
I agree.
I really, really do. From the pace we saw from Q1, I don't think, even if it's on fresh set of tyres, on even more rubbered in track, that these drivers are, you know, they're going to be breaking that 0.565 threshold that Istvan Pukki's got in enough sense to really try and push one of the Ferrari cars outside of his top 10. They've all got the ability to do it, but I just can't see it happening.
It's going to be difficult, and I think the thing is, obviously, with Nicholas and Istvan as well, they've both had times where they've retired in Q2 and they've not made it through into Q3. But I think in this instance, I think that Nicholas will be very safe. I think also Istvan Pugis should be quite safe as well on that 0.565. It just depends what those down below can do. If they can all find a lap time better than that, then he could be in a bit of trouble. But if they can't, he should be safe in P3, of course. And we can see, of course, a few more cars now heading back out onto track to begin their next laps. Everyone apart from, obviously, the two Ferraris is out on an 8 lap. And the key thing to notice there is Ishmael and Patrick don't seem to be too comfortable with their 0.5s.
Certainly not. I don't blame him. It's better to be out there than sorry. If you've got a set of soft tyres to burn, why not? Not the end of the world. Yes, you might put yourself in a bit more risk Q3, but when you get to that level, and you know it's the finest margins, which could see you get pole, it's at least better to be in the fight than to be out of it. Right? Mm-hmm. Best case scenario for them, they end up grabbing a P5, P6 on a scrub set of tyres, right? By really pushing it, only having that one fresh set into Q3. It's not the end of the world. But if they end up taking a risk now, they could find themselves starting from P11, P12, P13, depending on what sort of way the field shifts itself out. But we do have a question in the YouTube chat from Sonawayne saying, what is the goal of E-Series? What's different from this to the normal one?
Well, it's a teams championship, obviously 5 community teams, 5 of the manufacturer esports teams, which all take part to fight for £1,000, 11 rounds, points scored from first and to 20th. It's a full qualifying, 50% format. That is pretty much it all wrapped up in a nutshell. If you want to find out more, head over to our Twitter, head over to Discord, Instagram. You should be able to find even more information and maybe find out some more of the past races, some of our past seasons, to get a bit of a more idea of what it is. But I think this GIS Championship is brilliant, isn't it? Of course, yes, I believe all of our funds are obviously donated by and sponsored by GT Omega.
Yeah, certainly so. Very fortunate to be able to run such a brilliant championship here. Some of the championships here and there, they might lack a little bit. Thinking some of the talented drivers that we've got here, they might not necessarily, take other championships as seriously. But when it comes to PSGL, when it comes to E-Series, these drivers take it seriously. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of money to gain. As we've mentioned before, teams like F7R, £1,000, it's quite a lot of money for them. They can really help build our infrastructure. They can really get themselves going and keep in the momentum. But we see there, Patrick Sipos, it's a good job he doesn't necessarily need a quicker lap time because he's invalidated.
Yeah, and he was up by nearly 2/10 in that middle sector, so he was looking quite strong. He'll finish in P4. We've got Lenny Papinta coming through here, Josh. He's going to be looking to get himself into Q3. P2. Now, does that make you think here that might not be safe for Patrick here?
We'll see what Will Lewis is going to be able to do here, because if he ends up popping it as well, right, P6, I think Patrick might just make it. Will maybe, if it ends up rolling in his fortune. We do have Otis Lawrence now coming across the line. You can expect him to jump up, and he does so very well. Up to provisional pole out of this Q2 session, but again, there's a lot left on the line. Taika Hardy up into P6. I don't want to say it, Richie, but I think Patrick's done enough.
Yeah, as it'll be closer. We got Shimon Lekomsky goes up into P5. I think Patrick will be safe here at this point because Tim Zelenkovic couldn't find any improvements. So NVR are both out of the session, P14, P15, and Turner O'Shea, a driver who is, talking praises about, is out to Q2, but only by 7/1000ths of a whole second there. That is a big shame for the TF10 team.
Yes, very much so. We mentioned Tony Roche's recent qualifying improvement. Unfortunately, wasn't able to demonstrate it around here. But to run you through the order for this Q2, well, you have Otis Lawrence once again popping himself up there for Veloce in P1. Ishmael Fassi P2, Nicholas Longue P3, Louis Welsh P4 for the SRC outfit. Race Clutches Lenny Papinta up into P5, Simeon Bear up into P6, Taika Hardy P7, Istvan Pukki into P8, Patrick Sipos and Will Lewis in P9 and 10 respectively. But Richie, we've got to say goodbye to the 5 drivers, and that of course will be Tony Roche, Franek Mawariak, Joel Marquardt, Timo Zelenkovic and Nico Benz. Yep. Well, for MVR, 14th and 15th, they've got a little work to do to get those points, but It's not impossible.
It's not, indeed. They can easily work their way through because I think they both showed in qualifying they was very strong. They just couldn't find those last improvements they needed in their final laps. But we head through quickly into Q3, which will yet again be a dry affair here tonight in Silverstone. 10 drivers looking to fight for pole. We got obviously both of the Veloci Academies through, both of the Williamses through, both of the race coaches through, and both of the Ferraris through. So the only teams to have one driver through are F7R and SRC, which are two drivers who will fight for that championship. So here tonight, the only team that has a bit of an outlier in terms of where they are in the standings is Veloci Academy, who are 80 points back from the leaders.
Yeah, but we mentioned how easily it can close up in this championship. Part of the beauty of having a team championship is it's not just dependent on the one driver. Both of the drivers have to perform to be able to work at the optimal conditions. And, you know, I'm sitting here thinking, if I had a bottle of water and I was anywhere on this circuit, I think I would dump it in Village. Just make it a little interesting into the braking zone. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to go get myself a bottle of water. Let's see if we could try and summon some rain for the race, yeah?
Well, maybe. We'll see what happens. Obviously, we'll have our restart afterwards as well as, you know, it is mandatory to, you know, I think, you know, stop any issues happening, especially if people have left and joined back into the session and people with internet connection issues, that can all be fixed. And obviously that's why we have that mandatory restart. But, you know, it's only about 5 minutes anyway. It doesn't cost us too much time, of course, between the qualifying and the race.
The way I like to see it, it gives us a chance to bring you lot in the chat in. We can have a look at a couple of these poll predictions because look at the numbers now. F7R 10%, Williams Esports 33%, and RHG 19%. Well, if it was one of those 19% who voted for RHG, well, we know about a commentary curse, but I feel like we had a bit of a chat curse going on there. But I'll let you change your vote. Feel free to change it. But we still need people to say what team is going to grab pole. We've got 38% of you saying other. Other's not helpful. Give us the team. We won't judge you. I'm a Ferrari fan. It's okay. If anyone knows about believing in something, it'll be me.
Yeah, wow.
17 years. That's all I'm saying.
So, Josh, you're a Ferrari fan. You believe in
Yes.
Ferrari. I presume you're going to say to me now, Ferrari are going to take pole.
No, we discussed this before we even went on stream.
True.
And I mentioned it's going to be Williams 1-2.
That's strong.
I see it. I see it right now. Ishmael Fassi, pole position. Will Lewis, P2.
Well,
Ishmael's just saving a little bit in the tank.
it seems that Dylan doesn't agree. He thinks it'll be Will Lewis who gets pole.
Well, Dylan doesn't know Wheel. There's a reason he's not here. Shame on Mr. Warren. He needed a brake pedal to race. Imagine, honestly. I use a keyboard. Anyway, Pinto started his lap.
Of course, we can see a few drivers coming through, obviously, Lenny, heading in towards the end of that first sector now, and actually going to catch up to a bit of traffic here, so hopefully he doesn't get caught up too much with these drivers as he heads through in towards the end of that first sector now. We'll see what it is for the Race Coach Alpine as he heads down now this bit of a back straight in towards Brockham's corner at turn number 7. It'll be a 27.0 to open it up here for Lenny Pinto, and obviously we'll have drivers on the use, we'll have drivers on the new set of softs, so we'll obviously be able to dictate that after the first laps have been set here in Q3. Heading round now in towards Woodcote and see out of Lovefield in towards Copse Corner there. The infamous Copse Corner at turn number 9. Just throws it to the right hand side and keeps the car through. Minimum speed at the max there as he heads in towards that corner now. In towards Magnussen. Beckett's just wanted to carry as much minimum speed through, hit the apexes and turn in as little as you can to carry more speed through and not ruin the tyres. Heading out of that middle sector now, 101.822 there for Lenny Pinto. So far, Josh, he's looking strong here.
Certainly is. You can see how well he balanced that Alpine car. It was almost on a knife edge heading through Magnussen and Beckett, so that's the exact way you want it to be dialed in, to be sharp, to be responsive, so you can flick it to the left, to the right, as much as he would like. But he's going to be coming across the line here, looking to get that lap time on the board. It's 24.8. And I say, if that is on a scrub set of tyres, that is a mightily impressive lap time from Lenny Pinto. We know he's not really had the pace in Q1 and Q2, but is he going to be just one of those drivers who saves it all for Q3? We've seen it time and time again here. It's going to be very, very interesting. But we do have a comment from Dylan Warren in the YouTube chat saying, will find the willpower to will himself to pole position.
Maybe. Or maybe
Willie.
maybe the 4 uses of will in one sentence has heavily cursed him, Dylan. Because just because the commentator curse exists, also shows that the chat curse exists, and I think you've probably proven that tonight. I had kind of things to say about your commentary. I'm not sure anymore. Well, I know that's not. I know that's not about me because Dylan always
That's about
fusses
me.
me with my brilliant commentary, which is of course the best in
Ooh,
the world.
okay.
Josh, on the other hand, of course we know he's just a
Washed.
stand-in, isn't he? He's just here for the
Yeah,
he's here for the banter. Nothing else, are you, Josh?
absolutely not. But will Lewis be able to will himself
Well, we'll go aboard with
onto
him.
a potential front row start here? Will it be in his power to do so? Will he be able to get it across the line? Will he be able to Will Lewis himself?
Well, Josh, we will go on board Will Lewis now in towards Stoke Corner, and we'll see if he can get provisional pole.
Well, Nathan, I will say Will is looking pretty good.
Well, let's see what he can do as Louis Welch goes up to now second as Lekomsky goes up to provisional Poland. What a time there from Patrick Sheepos, a 0.2555 tenths, separating
Sorry.
Kim and Shimon, and then P2 for Will Lewis.
Well, what? I'm lost for words, Patrick Sheeposh. Where's that come from, my friend?
What a
That is
lap from
remarkable
him.
lap time.
A 0.2. And I'm trying to find Ismail Fassi as he heads in towards the braking zone at turn number 17. Can he try and take that pole away from Patrick Sheepos so far to the line? Only manages P2 and is a tenth and a bit down. What a lap time from Patrick Sheepos. They're at the top with a 1 minute 24.255. Then to P6, Nicholas Longue, that's 0.3 of a second. That is a gigantic lap between P1 and P6. P1 to P10 is 0.6 of a second.
And if you're considering, okay, we take it at base value, right? All these drivers, let's just say they're all on a fresh set of tyres, right?
Yeah.
It's definitely not the case. A couple of them are going to be running scrubbed. But you put that into perspective, you're looking at what? 3 tenths over a driver with the quality that Nicholas Longue has.
Yeah.
That's remarkable. You know, you mentioned earlier Ishmael Fassi back in Bahrain for the F1, whatever it's called, F1 Esports, right? I'm not adapting to the name change. It's not on my books.
No one is.
Right? No. I mean, Ishmael did a fantastic job there, but Patrick Sheepos here has just seemed to find another level of his ability. But the real question still remains: Will Lewis will himself back up into that fight? Because currently, the exact same time as Nicholas Longue.
Possible. But it looks
It is possible.
It looks like Patrick Sheepos will be getting pole at the minute, though. But we'll see what he can do at the end. Maybe it's possible. And now, I've just realised how many times I say will. Because I'm thinking of it every time I say it. I'm like, I say that word a little bit too much. But I was going to say, again, we'll see what can happen. But we've got 10 cars fighting for pole. Lenny Pipinter in P10, a driver that I should expect to see in that top 5. We got Will Lewis and Nicholas Longue on the same lap, so I'm a little bit back from Isam Pookie, who's nearly a 10th back from Togo Hardy, half a tenth back from Ishmael Fassi, who's a 10th and a bit back from Patrick Sheepos. That shows how good that lap is at the front of the field and race clutch. A P1, they'll be happy with that, won't they?
Absolutely. I mean, he's starting up the front. It's looking good for him. Moving himself slightly further forward. It's going to be a great opportunity for him in the championship just to take another stride. I've already picked up a race win around Spa in this championship. It's no harm in doing it again. So, we do have the question now. Richie, what will your prediction for pole position be?
You know what? I'm going to be boring and say Patrick Sheepos because he's already on provisional pole. And I want to get a vote right for once. I want to get my prediction correct so I can look better than everyone else. And I'm looking in the chat, and it is full of the word will. And it seems another Will Murdoch in the chat, saying sure. She doesn't like his name being mentioned a lot. So, yes, lots of wills in the chat at the moment. And will willingly have the will.
Well, see, not Will. But will Lewis be able to get himself into that prime position to really try and challenge? Of course, first time back in E-Series, getting through to Q3, in my opinion, already a great job.
Yeah.
Fair play, brilliant result. But I want to see him push himself. I really want to see him try and absolutely hammer this lap around.
He's got
here,
to, hasn't he?
we know Will has the potential to be able to go do that.
I think he's got the whole world watching him. He's got a lot of people cheering on for him. I think that 35% better be for Will. So he's got to do it now. If he doesn't, we're disappointed. But maybe it's possible. We hope. But we can see the Q3 laps getting underway, and at the front of the field will be our provisional pole sitter at the moment, Patrick Sheepos, obviously ahead of the Ferrari of Istvan Pukki, who also, is going to be looking for pole, because we know as well he's a driver that can fight for it. I think it was last season, I'm remembering him and Max Wiesel, or at least it was this season, him and Max Wiesel getting the exact same time in pole in Brazil, and they had, I think it was a 0.05 or something like that, and it was literally 0.000 separating them. So we know as well he can also fight for pole position. But so can Tycho Hardy. He proved that back in Spain. So is Ishmael Fatih so many times in the past year in PSGL. So is Otis Lawrence. So there's a lot of drivers here who can get it tonight. It's just about getting those initial laps done at the right time and getting the best conditions on track. Getting yourself out of the way of drivers who might be on a lap. You might like to be at the front of the field. Some drivers prefer to be at the back of the field.
Certainly so, but we will have to wait and see to find out who's going to be able to pull out the lap time. We've got Patrick Sheepos starting his lap here, trying to retain onto this provisional pole. He's looked pretty decent so far for Q1 and Q2, but this is what matters now. Q3, surely he's going to be trying to maximise the lap. He's already made a little bit of a readjustment to the steering, heading out of Village into the loop, so he would have lost a little bit of time there, but you mentioned Sector 2, Sector 3, there's ample amount of opportunities to reclaw that lap time back. He's currently a 10.5 down already, but it's not over until the fat lady sings, and that's something we should all be well aware of in sim racing, because it's quite often I sing and dress up occasionally.
Well, and that is Patrick Tsipas' time done already, so he's got to hope that 0.255 is enough for pole position. We've got Istvan Pukki heading through in towards Cops now. We'll see if he can try and take that pole position away from Patrick Tsipas at the moment, but also Tycho Hardy, stellar performance in P3. He's also going to be looking to try and fight for pole position. But let's see what the Ferrari can do. In P4 at the moment with a 0.493, just over 0.2 back from the pole position time. He's up by just shy of a tenth of a second in the first and middle sector combined. He's got one sector to go. He's got to find over a tenth and a half in this final sector to try and take pole position away. It'll be close, but I don't think it will be enough unless he can pull out an amazing chicane. As we can see, Pukki now heading towards the final braking zone on the circuit. Will it be pole position for the Ferrari? Because it is at the moment for Patrick Sheepos. No, but it will be P3 for Istvan Pukki. Let's try and find someone else on that one. We got Will Lewis heading down. He's up by a tenth. I don't think that's enough for pole position unless he can nail this final sector. Papinta goes into P7. What can Will Lewis do? He goes up and stays in P5. Then we got Ishmael Fassi coming through as well in towards that middle sector. We'll see someone further along. We got Otis Lawrence up by a tenth in the middle sector. Can he try and fight for pole as Nicolas Lange goes into second? What can Otis Lawrence do? He goes up to pole with a 0.235. What can Lukomsky do? He goes into P8. Now it's all down to Ishmael Fassi because Tycho Hardy invalidated. Can Ishmael Fassi try and take pole position away from the Veloci Academy driver? It's about, half a tenth separating first to third. Can Ishmael Fassi make it that gap to first to fourth? He will go, I believe, into P2 there was the Williams. It was second place for Ishmael Fassi. What a gap between first and fourth. Half a tenth at least separating all those guys. And let's see what the gap was. 17 thousandths.
Hey, it's too close. Not a fan of that. But you got to say, fantastic lap times from those four. Really, really impressive stuff. Especially Patrick, who did it on a slightly more green track, no? Yeah. That's just remarkable stuff from them. But we do have the top 10. We do have the pole sitter. If by other you meant Veloci Academy and Otis Lawrence, congratulations, you've won yourself a pat on the back and a firm handshake. Because he is on pole position, we've got Ishmael Fassi P2, Patrick Tsipas P3, Nicolas Lange P4, Istvan Pukki P5, Tycho Hardy in P6, Will Lewis willed himself to 7th place, Simon there in P8, Lenny Papinta P9, and Louis Welsh into P10. So, that's created a little bit of an interesting grid.
It has indeed, and well, it is certainly interesting as well. And Dylan Warren says that Ismail was a tenth behind on the Sector 2 split, so he could have also looked to fight for pole. But we, of course, have got our mandatory restart, so we'll be back with you very shortly after our word with our sponsors over at GT Omega and Sim Racing Centre.
Well, we are back. Thank you for sticking with us there through the ad break. Again, it's one of those things we try and incorporate a little more. Of course, myself and Richie, both being, key parts of a PSGL family, such as yourselves back at home. We've got to support the sponsors who enable us to bring together the likes of E-Series, PSF1, PCF1, and the rest of the other fantastic divisions. And as a return for it, we've got some lovely kitted gear, such as GT Omega chairs, a potential for, maybe a couple SRC subs. But most importantly, our special guest for this live stream is going to be the one and only Bob. He's adorable. He's the little puppet mascot for SRC. The greatest thing I've ever been given, to be quite honest with you. Makes me 4/10 of a lap quicker by staring into my soul and reminding me I need an engineer. Yeah. Bob has always made the right calls for me. I don't have to think anymore. I just have to hold down my foot to drive the car. It's absolutely brilliant. But, we sit here, we praise so many different drivers, but none of this would be possible without having great sponsors at PSGL.
Of course. I think, GT Omega and SRC combined have made PSGL a better place. Of course, we have our brilliant gaming chairs from GT Omega, which me and Josh both have, of course, with us. And of course, all the SRC stuff. SRC literally have everything. I believe they also do WRC, ACC, iRacing. Of course, F123, also F124 is the for pre-order. You've got all the little bits of merch they do. They do quite a lot. And of course, they have their esports team. And if you're quick enough, maybe you'll get a chance to drive in it. Maybe you'll get an offer. So it shows that there's a lot going on at SRC, and they are also a key reason why they're one of our sponsors to help PSG grow, and of course to help SRC grow themselves at the moment. They're looking to grow very well here on the F123 platform as the fourth in the championship, a point back from R8G, ahead of Ferrari, ahead of Veloce Academy. They're looking like a very strong outfit here, and if maybe there was no names on the board, you wouldn't be able to tell they're only community team, would you, Josh?
No, you really wouldn't. Performances have been up there. It's been absolutely fantastic. For an esports team, which, they've had the assets to be able to form the team way before E-Series, but considering they put together a team, about a month in advance before E-Series started, before they tried to qualify, and they're already beating the well-established teams, such as Race Clutch, such as Veloce, such as Scuderia Ferrari themselves. Yeah. It really just goes for a credit to the entire team working behind it, and the drivers as well for being able to get into a new situation, find themselves a little bit of space to work with, and look forward, to the future. And it's absolutely fantastic what they're able to do, but will they be able to keep it up for the remainder of the season? Consistency is key. We've mentioned it time and time before. They've got to look to really start buttoning down on that consistent factor.
Of course, and I think, we're pretty much at the halfway point now. We've had 5 rounds. This is a 6th, and then after this, there's another 5 rounds left to go, of course, until round 11. And we'll have a little look at the calendar. And we can see, obviously, we're here, of course, for Britain, but next week we head off to Imola. Now, that's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be a home circuit for many, of course, and It's a very difficult track. Overtaking is quite scarce, and from what I've seen in Imola in the past couple of weeks, it's easier to crash on a straight. Let's just put that into context. Then we have Qatar for round 8, of course, another brilliant track. Overtaking can also be quite difficult with the fact there's normally quite a long DRS train. Mexico for round 9, yet again a track I've seen quite a lot recently. I think it's brilliant for races, especially in around that first and second sector. Then Las Vegas for round 10, literally just a DRS train track, and it's about who's got the lowest wings can make it work pretty much. And then we end it off, Josh, with what is probably my favourite track on the calendar, Brazil.
Yes, Interlagos. It holds a special place in my heart. Of course, it used to be the old season finale before Abu Dhabi came in. I've got very fond memories of it from my childhood, watching it. There's been some fantastic drives from every single, era of Formula One car there. And esports has been no different. We've seen fantastic drives from the likes of Yano, from the likes of Ronha. It wouldn't surprise me if we start to see this new generation come through with the likes of Otis Lawrence being able to pull out performance there and really just put themselves on the map once again, just reaffirming their position as the future of Formula One esports looking further forward to, the next couple of years. Because at the moment, you would have to say, leading that trade with the likes of Nico Benz, they're in a very solid position. A similar sort of thing with Tamas Gal.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, I think as a driver that we definitely need to speak about. It's a big shame to see Tamas so far down. P16 for Tamas Gal, and it was P20 for Julian Klaffenbach due to the issues he had with his internet. It seems he left and joined about 5-6 times during quali. That is not ideal for the team who have recently come off the back of a 1-2 with Thomas and Alfie, so they've got a lot of work to do tonight. They've got to get points. They can't afford to be back where they was at the start of the season, where they got there. I think it was literally 18th and 19th in round 1 because they had a DNF and they had a P17, P18. They can't afford to go back to their ways like they was at the start because they had a very poor position, and you could see Thomas, he come in, did 2 rounds, and really bounced the team up along with the likes of Alfie and stuff. So I think they know they got the pace to do it. They know they can win. They've just got to have the right conditions at the moment. It didn't seem like Tamas and Julian were... Well, I'd say Julian could be let off due to his internet, but Tamas didn't seem too happy with the conditions he got here. And normally, Silverstone's quite a good track for the Hungarian from what I've seen before. So it's also a bit of a surprise to see him so far down.
Yeah, it might just need a little bit of padding time for Tamas to get used to the new sort of surroundings, the new area. Just really kind of sort of dial himself in. Of course, he'll be working with new people. You've just got to take that all in and understand it's not going to be an immediate click. He won't immediately be able to jump in, jump across, move to another team, and be able to, get the results he would ideally want. Yeah. It's going to be a work in progress. He's going to have to start almost from a bottom up and keep moving up slightly further and further. It's going to be one of those moments where, it's not going to happen immediately. He knows that. We need to somewhat adjust our expectations. It's like Daniel Ricciardo, for example, going back to Visa, Red Bull, app, cash balls. Apart from Tamas Gal's got talent, and we will see it come out, unlike Ricciardo.
Oh, well.
But not Riccardo Benzoni, because he does have talent.
Yes.
And I'm surprised about the qualifying performance.
Yeah.
I think he could easily get a top 5 here. He's got the pace. Mm-hmm. He's got the pace, but in a handful. He's just got to find a way to somewhat get it out there.
Yes, and it says it'll be fraud for him. Oh, and about what Will said, and it says just like our good friend and Joshua Griffin Meek. Well, he also likes Ferrari. Well, ignore the fact I've got a Ferrari T-shirt on. I just want to, throw some more at Josh.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm slightly concerned Dylan's trying to do me for fraud here.
It's Dylan. He's won himself, isn't he? Maybe.
Wow. You say that and the performances he's put in so far?
I wouldn't say that if he was here racing, would I?
No. But exactly. Wilson points out there's a spider on your wall, Rich.
I hope not.
Yeah.
There better not be.
Yeah. See, he's just changed the camera to address that one, by the way.
Yeah, there better not be a spider on the wall. They're not very ideal. Let's just put it that way. I don't think anyone wants to witness murder on stream, because I would kill the spider, but I don't think there's one there. At all. I do not believe Wilson one bit. But we have 5 seconds to go till we get in. Josh, you have the start. Get ready for what could be a chaotic turn 1. There's no braking at turn 1. Oh, and it's wet. Oh, dear me. Well, maybe it will be chaotic at turn 1.
Do you know that water bottle? You know that water bottle I went to grab?
You poured it on the circuit.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's fine by me. I love the wet. You don't like it, though.
I'm apologising to the drivers. I'm sorry, guys.
Well, this makes it even more interesting than it could have first been. Well, it's going to be a wet start at Silverstone. And, yeah, turn 1, they're going to see a lot more in wet conditions. They don't know how much grip they've got on the circuit. So I expect to see someone go wide at Abbey. And also someone to go deep at turn 3 at Village. I believe it's called, isn't it? Village at turn 3 or something, I don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, Josh, enjoy.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I cannot wait to see how we're going to negotiate this. Of course, we've seen starts here in the dry, not necessarily go the best way. Feel like adding a little bit of water and some tyres which aren't perfectly slick and don't connect fully with the surface. What could go wrong? Don't answer that. Don't answer that, please. But certainly, a couple of drivers here. I've got to be hoping for it to remain very calm.
Oh, it's a whole race, according to Dylan.
Might be looking for a little window of opportunity. Well, there's going to be a full wet race. That might throw a couple curveballs up for the drivers. I have to refit my strategy. But you would expect drivers, with the engineering, technicalities that they have on hand, to have somewhat prepared for a potential entirely wet race around Silverstone, which is, of course, located in Britain, which is traditionally known for being absolutely dreadful weather-wise. It's a bit of common sense, really, isn't it?
Yes. Very. The weather here is not comfortable at all, and why are we being held up here so long?
Someone's having to craft their own setup, apparently. This
Make
rate,
a
might
new
as well get
one.
the wheel gun out.
Yeah.
Just make a new car at this point.
Make a new one on the fly.
It'll be like having Brad Pitt toodle around on the formation lap with them.
Now the
But of
question is,
course-
does Ferrari pit lap 1 for softs?
Don't. You're wearing the shirt. You'd be the curse this time, not me. But, it's...
Is it going to dry? Well, Dylan says no, but do we believe Dylan in the YouTube chat? That is the question, Connor. He could be telling the truth, but he could be lying, and it could either be full wet after lap 2, or it could be bone dry by lap 24 out of 25. Maybe.
I'll take bone dry on the last lap.
That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Because I could imagine a couple of drivers in the standard mat and pitting a couple of laps earlier, but not getting the full benefit of the tyres.
Yeah, but why
I can
hold...
see that.
Oh, no, please don't say we've got an internet connection issue here with someone.
Oh, no.
And Dylan makes a good point. No one was ready for it, so they're sat there deciding everything. Or Julian's got an issue with his internet again, which is putting us on hold. Please don't be the issue.
Please. Please.
Well, here we
We're
are.
hoping. We are hoping. Well, here we go. We have the 4 red lights, now 5, ready to get took off right there. And we've got the race starting here, looking like a solid start for a lot of these drivers. Of course, all on that intermediate tyre, looking to try and navigate themselves safely through the first couple of corners. You've got to think the spray is going to be affecting their vision, affecting where they're going to brake, how confident they're going to feel as well. We've got moves happening all over the place. Otis Lawrence still holding on to P1, though. Brilliant job. We've got Nicholas Longue, Patrick Seaposh having a nice little battle there, heading up through the corners. It's fantastic stuff from them so far. Everyone remaining on the track, keeping it nice and fair and offering enough room for one another to be able to really try and get a good little bit of a ding-dong battle going. But of course, we do have a great battle here forming between both the Ferrari drivers. Istvan Pukki getting a little bit wayward there with the overtake from Nicholas Longue around the outside, but they've fallen back into a formation. Longue holding on to P4, Istvan P5, but Tycho Hardy's right at the heels for P6. You know what? I'm quite happy with that restart. I feel like everyone's behaved themselves.
Of course, and we all know here these are critical corners for this Grand Prix, and that is between Will Lewis and Lenny Papinter into turn 9. They go at Cops. They go side by side. Will Lewis is still in P9, but can Lenny get the move done down towards Maggots and Beckett? He goes. He has the inside, and he goes to the outside for the corner. Can he get the move done? He's going to try and switch back into the inside at turn 13. Into Chapel, he'll have the outside line. Then obviously Tony Roche comes behind looking to make a move ahead of Lenny Papinter. Onto the grass goes the Red Bull. I don't think he can try and find a move. What about Louis Welch looking to make a move past Shimon Lekomsky into turn 16 at Stowe? He makes the move into P7. Brilliant there, of course, from him. Then further back, we can see Rocher looking to make a move, as that's going to be going wide. That was Rocher, I think, going wide at the exit of Stowe.
Yeah.
Further back, they're all looking to come to contact. We've got Tamashka looking to make moves. We've got Race Imtiaz fighting with Timo Zelenkovic for P15 there, and we've got Tamashka coming up the inside into the final corner, close to contact, side by side down to turn 1. Who will take P15? I know we're not meant to be having a battle here for P15, but we have, and it's a 2 MVRs battling here with the 2 RHGs, and one of them goes wide, but back towards the front we go, and Otis Lawrence looking to edge that gap out there to obviously Ishmael Fassi in P2, and then Patrick Sheepos nearly a second back. Now he's a second back from the top 2.
Yeah, exactly, and it puts him in a vulnerable position to Nicholas Longate, Istvan Pukki to really try and get a little bit more momentum flowing to try and disrupt that race clutch driver's performance. Of course, you know, Patrick Sheepos is going to be trying his absolute best to keep those tyres on the little wet parts of the circuit here, making sure he's cooling down the tyres, especially coming out the likes of Maggots and Beckett, so we can expect him to try and move. DRS won't be available. It's wet. Of course it is. Common sense, guys. We all understand Formula 1. We're here to watch a brilliant racing. So it'll come down to slipstream, battery usage, and how well they're all going to be able to negotiate these treacherous conditions, especially through the likes of Maggots and Beckett, as we see Otis Lawrence losing out a little bit more ground to Ishmael Fassi, but you got to start thinking Ishmael Fassi is going to lose a little bit more on the straights, given Otis's setup. We saw how he was able to pull away down the straights. Absolutely fantastic stuff from him, but we've got so many of these different battles breaking out. It won't be a DRS train, so to speak, but the drivers are still following closely enough for me to warrant calling it a DRS train.
Of course, as we can see, moves being made further ahead. At least it looks like Oliver Peters going to be closing into the back of Will Lewis as a massive tank slapper coming through out of Stowe Corner as they head into the braking zone for the final chicane. Further back, we can see there a bit of a quite a mean battle for Timo Zelenkovic, trying to battle a very laggy RHG of Julian Klappenbach, who still doesn't seem to have solved the internet issues he had at the start of the session. So hopefully he can get them fixed, or they will fix themselves over these next couple of laps. But we can still see that gap at the front is coming down between the Veloce Academy and the Williams, and then obviously we've got Patrick Sheepos in P3 losing a little bit more time to that top 2, but Nicholas Longay not really capitalising at all to make a move ahead into P3. We can see further then yet again the likes of Will Lewis looking to gain in here, obviously ahead of Shimon Lukomsky. He's gaining in with that gap 1.8 tenths of a second as he heads into the braking zone, but nowhere near enough to make a move on the back of the Veloce Academy. But it looks like he's going to be looking for it probably in the next few laps here. So head through out of Luffield in towards Woodcote into Stowe, into Copse here. Will Lewis is getting in quite quickly here.
Yes, absolutely. Will Lewis be able to make a move in the next couple laps on the Veloce Academy driver? Only time he's going to be able to tell, but we are seeing some moves breaking out across the grid. Nicholas Longay being one of those drivers to sneak his way, just coming out of Cops. Brilliant stuff. They're very opportunistic, heading into Maggots and Beckett's, but Patrick Sheepos is really struggling to get a bit of pace. Clearly a drier setup being used on that Alpine car.
Of course, and well, that is not good at all, is it, for Patrick Sheepos at all here in this race, in a very compromising position, considering at one point in Q3 he was looking to try and take pole position, then on his final lap made a mistake and ended up P3, now in P4, dropping half a second already over pretty much half a lap to Nicholas Longay, and obviously thanks there to Yona as well as Dylan to tell us that it will be into the whole race. So that means it's going to be quite a boring race for many, but also quite a fun race for a few, or probably Otis Lawrence and Ishmael Fassi. We can see yet again Will Lewis looking to gain in here to make a move ahead of Shimon Lukomsky, gaining in into turn 1 at Abbey, through into the fine curve at turn 2, and they're going to look to be making it into the braking zone at turn 3. You can see there, look to the outside, but couldn't really find a way past Daka Lukomsky. We can see now Tamashkala making a move in towards turn number 4, getting himself ahead of Black Box, obviously Race Imtiaz. Then down to P15 further back, obviously the 2 TES stock getting a good start, P18 and P20 for Franek and Cuba, and Ricardo Bentoni also with a bit of a poor start. He's in P19, 5 tenths back off of the TES Franek Moraviak. Back near the front we can see Libby Welch has also lost some time at 1.5 seconds to the back of Tycho Hardy, so looking good. East Tycho here on the back of 6 pretty much esports level drivers. He's in P6, doing a very decent job for the F7R team. Unfortunately, his teammate is a little bit further down. But the good thing is for SRC, for F7R, is RHG also having a bit of a terrible outing here tonight.
Yes, absolutely. It just gives them that little bit more breathing room, doesn't it? But, you know, you mentioned Tyke Hardy on the back of these, you know, esport drivers. He's in the perfect position, in my opinion. He doesn't need to close up anymore. He just needs to hold on, manage his pace, work the tyres, keep him in that operating window. Because at the end of the day, if Istvan Pukki and Patrick Sipos are going to be fighting like we might be seeing in a matter of seconds here, heading into the Vale chicane, it'll naturally just bring Tycho with them as they do go wheel to wheel into the braking zone, but Istvan Pukki just has to back out there. He's showing the outside door, and Patrick Sipos is in no mood to let the Ferrari driver past. He wants to defend for P4 here with everything he's got, knowing he doesn't necessarily seem to have the pace at the moment, and I do believe it is going to be down to the setup he's got.
Indeed, we can see yet again, though, Pukki looking to gain into the braking zone at turn number 3. Pulls to the outside line to get a nice racing line into the corner, hit that apex on the inside, then goes to the outside yet again at turn 4 to make a move, and we've already got a 3-second penalty. It's for Kuba Wozniak. Then at the back of the grid we can see Tamas Gar there making a move. Into P13 goes the RHG, and now we've got Pukki looking to make a move for P4 ahead of Patrick Sipos, nearly into contact, nearly on the grass for the Ferrari. They go side by side into turn 7 at Brooklands. It's going to be Patrick Sipos on the inside in towards Luffield. Bit of contact for a second, and Istvan gets half spun round. That brings Tycho Hardy into this battle. We'll go on the board with the AlphaTauri to see what he can watch from here. Patrick Sipos looking to make the move. He can't do so. Brilliant from Istvan Pukki. Into P4 he goes, and actually Patrick's going to try and fight back into Cops. Has to back out there, and you can still see he's eager to get the move done, but I don't think there's anything here that Patrick Sipos can do, because Istvan Pukki looks to be clear of him, I think, at this point here on. It seems a better setup.
Yeah, certainly does. You can see Patrick just losing time all throughout Magnussen Beckett. It's lost 0.2 of a second to Istvan Pukki, and Tycho Hardy is right here on the back of him, looking to follow him through, try and make that move. He pulls into the slipstream of Istvan Pukki. Istvan Pukki goes back over towards the racing line. You can see him taking that, not necessarily defensive line, but certainly try to offer Tycho Hardy a little bit of a slipstream heading up into Stowe. But Tycho Hardy will take that position from the grasp of Patrick Sipos to work himself up into P5. And it's just really F7R things, isn't it? Find themselves in these like little predicaments where they can really try and gain from the other drivers losing out a little bit here and there. Certainly a driver who's going to be looking to gain slight a bit more, it's going to be Will Lewis, currently in P8, just over a 10th off the back of Louis Welsh, and he looks hungry to get this overtake sorted.
He does, but he just can't find a move. He goes to the inside, low into turn 4. Slight bit of contact between Will and Louis on the exit at turn 4. They go through in towards turn 5. At Aintree, can Will get the move done this time around? Got a bit of battery to use, but so is Louis Welch. He pulls to the inside line to get himself ahead of the Aston Martin SRC car, and he gets it done. Louis didn't even fight it. He said like Louis broke early to let Will Lewis through there. So P7 for the Williams, and hopefully, if Will can try and gain in here to Patrick, Louis can be dragged along with him, obviously with that slipstream effect down towards, in towards some of them heavy braking zones, obviously along those long straights. That could be good here to get them back into all this train, and Louis stick with Will and those ahead. But Patrick Sipos, it's just not going well. He's now a second back from Tycho Hardy, who's on the back now of Istvan Pukki, and obviously Istvan hasn't got any slipstream to use off his teammates. Tycho has, so actually we could see Tycho looking to split the two Ferraris here, which will be something brilliant for the S7R team to still show that they can hold the top of that, so they can show that they can hold the top of the standings. But the key thing is Williams have got a second and 7th, whereas S7R have got a 5th and 16th here.
Yep, if things stay the way they are, Williams will tend to take the lead of the E-Series Championship, but there's still multiple rounds left to play here, and Tycho Hardy is just doing exactly what the team need him to do, just by being there, being a distraction, causing a little bit of ruckus in between a lot of these drivers, and so far he's done a fantastic job of it. And another driver who's been trying to get themselves up and around in the mix would be Tamas Gal, who's climbed up a good amount of places, and Julian's still right there behind him. But I do believe we had a little moment there, and Riccardo Benzoni all of a sudden looks to be all over back of Timo Zlenkovic.
Well, we had a 3-wide battle into turn 17, which then caused into the 4th driver making a move as well. What a battle that was in towards the final corner. I know it's for 17th, 18th, 19th and 20th, but these drivers are getting their elbows out, and unfortunately T has to come out on the the end of it in the worst position. Obviously with that penalty for Kuba, he's also now got his teammate right behind him, looks to make a move in towards the next couple of corners. But back to the front we go, and we can see Tycho Hardy looking to gain in, looking to make moves here ahead of the Ferrari car of Istvan Pukki. But further ahead we can see Nicholas isn't really gaining into the top 2. Ismail and Otis are looking clear so far of the 2 Ferraris, so maybe this 1-2 is set in stone for the Veloce and the Williams. But Ferrari looking for a 3-4. That would also be very good for their championship campaign, to gain in on Race Coach, to gain in on SRC, to gain in on an F7R, and to marginally gain in a little bit on the back of Veloce Academy. obviously, who was sitting first and ninth, which is still doing very good for them indeed. But Ferrari looking very strong. It's actually Tiger Hardy there, Josh. Caught me off guard, looking to make a move ahead here of Istvan Pukki.
Yeah, he's certainly putting that car in, unfamiliar, potentially risky situations, as we see with a late switch going into Vale, but it wasn't quite there for him. Ended up just tapping him a rear. Now he's got a little bit more work to do to catch back up to Istvan Pukki. It's a good job he was able to build that buffer to Patrick Seepos, because all of a sudden Patrick Seepos seems to be right back in this. But you've got to consider, Patrick, surely something's wrong. Maybe he might have picked up a bit of damage, maybe it's a wrong setup, but he's not getting exactly what he wants out of that car at this moment in time. But we've touched on Otis Lawrence, Ishmael Fassi, looking to be, dancing away up at the front of this race. So far, they're looking untouchable. They're looking absolutely fantastic out front. Lucas Longue, again, doing just what he does, keeping the car in a solid position. And of course, another podium for Ferrari, it'll be the third one of the season. And then having their teammate score points in P4, really jump them up the table. I mean, you could potentially be looking at jumping RHG being right on the back of F7R, looking towards the next race. It's exactly what they need to do, but there's so many different battles breaking out all over the grid. We've got some drivers which are being a lot more conservative with their battery. We've got others who are more than willing to burn it to just gain a couple seconds here and there. A great example of that, it will be Louis Welsh. He's more than happy to keep that battery being burnt to defend from the rest of the drivers behind who might get better runs, a little bit of slipstream here and there. It's looking good.
It is, but the thing is, look at Patrick Seepos here. So Will Lewis, he's 3/10 back. Before Patrick got overtaken by Tyker, the gap was, 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Look at how quickly that Will Lewis has reeled in the back of the Alpine race clutch. That shows Patrick just isn't happy at all. He's 7 seconds off the leader after just 8 laps. So that's nearly a second a lap he's losing to Otis Lawrence, which is quite a lot of time when you're comparing Patrick and Otis. They're two very, very quick drivers and probably very close to being equal on pace on a normal day. Obviously, the good thing, though, for Patrick is Louis and Shimon, and then all those behind, are still a little bit further back from this train, obviously, of Will Lewis, who's now broke away from them. As we can see, Tamas Gale make a move to split the 2 TF10s into P12. Goes the RHG driver back to the gap to the interval. Obviously, we can still see now Otis has pulled that gap ahead of Ishmael. So Otis looking clear here in the wet conditions, and then we can see further back it's Van Pukki losing more time to the back of his teammate. So Hardy getting himself back within a second of Pukki, and then Patrick Seepos has lost a second in a lap.
Yeah. Something's not clicking in that car.
As we can see there, Marquardt looking to make a move back ahead. Julian Klaffenbach here in towards Luffield. No, nothing he can do. They make a bit of contact. Back up the inside goes the Red Bull. He can't get the exit he wants. A better exit from Julian gives him better straight line speed down towards Cop's corner. And there's nothing here I don't think that Marquardt can do at all to fight unless he goes to the outside, which he does, in towards Cop's corner. He tries to go to the outside, tries to get a switch back here on the RHG, and I think he just tried everything he could, but I don't think anything he did there was even close to good enough. As we can see further ahead, Lekomsky kind of stuck in a position behind the back of Louis, can't find a move ahead, but he's losing crucial time to that top train, or I should say the train from 4th down to 7th.
Yep, certainly is. You can just see him slowly losing touch. Can't you? Looking here, stuck behind Louis Welsh. He's clearly got the pace when it comes to a couple of these corners. But again, it's just where Louis Welsh is able to pull on the traction, being comfortable, applying the gentle throttle, coming out of these, traction-heavy zones. Whatever that SRC car's got on the back, it's certainly helping that wheel just make a little bit easier contact, less wheel spin, creating a better opportunity for Louis Welsh to be able to pull away. But as soon as I say that, it's typical. Louis Welsh ends up having a little bit of a slide, ends up having to lift through turn 1 though, and that'll back up the rest of this field once again. And they're just all having to wait right now for that opportunity to come. But it's going to be one of those moments where maybe a little bit further into this race, 2-3 laps, you're going to have to think maybe that opportunity won't come, as we saw Louis Welsh there look a little bit vulnerable, but not the end of the world for him.
Yeah, Richet there looking to gain in as well on the back of Lenny Pinter. Stuck his nose up into turn 5, and now he's going to pull alongside the back of the Alpine in towards turn 7. They go to the inside goes Pinter in towards Luffield now, so we can see it's going to be Richet on the outside. Then Tamas Gale looking to stick his nose in here to get a move ahead of the back of Tanner Richet, but just couldn't quite get the exit he wanted. Now we have a side-by-side between Pinter and Richet, who will come out heading towards Cox. Bit of contact, bit of wheel banging, and they go side-by-side, and I think a better exit here for Tamas Gale, who nearly loses a car coming through. As we can see further ahead, Will Lewis there for a second, looked to get ahead of Patrick Seepos. Sorry to cut off that battle there, but I wanted to see what happened there between Lewis and Seepos there.
Yeah, and Tamashkel's right on the back of both of these drivers as well. Surely you got to think he's going to be able to get the run on his former team, of course, Race Clutch. Tamashkel looking to exact a little bit of revenge, trying to get a move sorted sooner rather than later. But you could just see how quickly Tony Roche is able to pull and how effective a slipstream is for these cars, being able to pull each other slightly further along more and more. But Will Lewis there with a brilliant move around the outside. It turns it to the inside there, heading into the final couple corners. Gets the jump on Patrick Cepos, and Cepos just stuck there now.
Indeed, you can see a move being made there by Tamashkel ahead of Papinta. Now into P11 goes the R8G. Normally, I'm used to saying the RC, but no, he's not in Race Clutch anymore, is he? He's obviously recently moved over to the R8G team and represented them here tonight for the first time in PSGL E-Series. Had a poor qualifying, but looking to make some amends here in the race segment. Looking for a move now on the back of Roche into turn 4. Sends it late. Tries to go side by side. Couldn't quite do it into turn 5. Now has the run possibly down towards Brooklands corner. Can he try and find a move here? I don't think he can. He's a little bit too far back at the current point, but he has broken away from Lenny Papinta, and Race Clutch looking to have a bit of a poor rating here tonight. Obviously, Patrick Cepos now under pressure, probably soon, from Louis Welch, and Lenny Papinta stuck in P12 on the back now of Tamashkel, under pressure here from Julian Klaffenbach. He's also having a bit of a struggle. So have Race Clutch got the strategy, well, not strategy wrong because they're all on the Inters, but have they got the setup wrong here maybe?
I mean, if it was happening to one car, you might be able to indicate, oh, it's a bit of damage. Surely it's nothing wrong there. But considering it's happening to both cars, it might very well have to be that. Whatever setup they're running isn't working as well as they thought it would in these wet conditions, especially in these intermediate conditions, which, it's not exactly full wet, it's not monsoon weather. They're not, arguing to get a rowboat out to try and, row a little bit quicker than the cars can drive. But certainly by no means would it be, an opportunity to really try and mess around with the setup, especially given it's E-Series.
Indeed, as we can see there, Nicholas Longay, Will Lewis, Tamashkel, Joel Marquardt, Black Box into the pit lane now to make a pit stop onto a new set of intermediate tyres. So that promotes many drivers up into the top 10, likes of Roche, Papinta, Klaffenbach now. Obviously, Nico Benz will come out in P11, but the question is now, will this undercut work onto a new set of the Inters? That is going to be a key thing to watch here. If that undercut can work, or if maybe the overcut can work later in the race. Once you get towards those last 3 or 4 laps, that's when you can really see those other Inters get into permission and try and make some more key moves in the race. We can see further back there, that'll be Zelenkovic making a move ahead of Moraviak. Moraviak gets a move back done in towards turn 4. Wozniak looks to follow behind as well to try and make a move ahead, but I don't think he's close enough to getting in onto the back of Zelenkovic, as yet again MVR and TS battling, as you would say in football terms, battling for relegation here tonight, just not being able to find anything to work at all for the two teams. Zelenkovic sends it late. Franek Moraviak tries to go around the outside at Luffield. Wozniak then has to sit behind his teammate, can't find a way through. This is good for Nicholas Longay because hopefully he can just try and get caught up to them and just kind of dispatch them quickly and not really get caught up by the two Mercedes and the Haas.
Yeah, but how much of a shame is it, man? These guys battling for 15th, 14th, and 13th. It's a shame that 5.5 seconds off the back of Riccardo Benzoni. Benzoni was in that fight. He was part of it, this little group and gaggle of cars. If these drivers were able to find an opportunity to work together, just to hold formation for a little bit before going on to that fresh set of intermediate tyres, maybe looking to get an undercut, maybe an overcut, as we see Wozniak there once again backing out, not looking to overtake Morawiak. It's an awkward position for him to be in because, it really only damages themselves.
Of course, and we can see Tiger Hardy there jumping into P2. Cepos back into P3, who's now over 10 seconds back from the leading train, of course, of Otis Lawrence, who's just clear ahead of Tiger Hardy in second place. And we'll see now, where does Longay come out compared to those who've just made a pit stop? We can see Ismail Fassi also looking to head out the pit lane. Longay will get ahead of Richet, Lekomsky, Welch. Can he get himself ahead of Ismail Fassi? It should do. It's going to be close. I don't think it has. No, so the undercut here hasn't worked for the Ferrari. That's key to know. I know he was already a little bit further back, but he's not really been able to make that overcut work as much as we would see.
But is it going to work on Otis Lawrence? Of course, there's only a second separating those guys, and you're looking at the gap between Fassi and Longay. It's less than a second, so potential to jump Otis Lawrence here. But then again, being on the older compound of intermediate tyre by only 2 laps can mean an awful lot come the end of this race. But we're thinking, you know, 3-4 tenths a lap, depending on when the drop-off point's going to be, as we see the lead runners, Fassi and Longue, trying to dispatch this gaggle of cars currently in the way, and Ishmael Fassi being very brave and very bold, trying to get through in Cobbs.
Indeed.
Well, fair play. Fair play indeed. You know, trying to go for that, making sure he's able to dispatch him before Magnus and Beckett's, because you can see how much time Nicolas Longue is losing, still behind Frank Marariak. Of course, these drivers have no obligation to move out the way. They are still racing for position. Just that these guys have pitted on fresh inters, so they're going to be looking to try and fly past as quick as possible. That's exactly what Longue and Fassi have been able to do. Now, questions going to arise. Is just Van Pookie going to catch up to the back of these guys, or are all these guys going to dive it into the pits beforehand?
Well, it seems that there's some more pit stops being made. Tiger Hardy, Patrick Sheepas, Riccardo Benzoni and Frank Marariak all into the pits on lap 14 and 26, and the four to stay out at the moment are, of course, Otis Lawrence, Lenny Pepinta, Julian Klaffenbach, Nico Benz, who are the only ones not to pit yet. Everyone else has made their pit stops in this race for a new set of the intermediate tyres. We can see as well Isvan Pookie now into P9. He's 3 seconds, 4 seconds back from the back of his teammate. That is a lot of time being lost on that overcut strategy for him indeed. And we can see further back, of course, Ricciardo and Franek into the pit, so come out right at the back of the field because they are still, you know, those at the back anyway. They're now going to pit again and be behind those who haven't pitted. I believe there's still a couple left to pit. So that is why they're going to be so far back from the rest of the leading train. We can see that Klaffenbach here looking to make a move ahead of Lenny Pepinta for P2. As we can see there, it'll be Timo Zelenkovic making a move ahead of Wozniak there. So they all head out now of the end of that first sector, and still not much being made. I think they know they're not going to fight for much, so just have a bit of a battle here for just the sake of having a battle. And pit stop wise, I don't think that Lenny and Julian have pitted, have they? No, they haven't.
No. Still not pitted, but someone who's decided to dive into the pits, and you might think about time, will be our race leader, Otis Lawrence. Looking to potentially come out behind Nicolas Longue, but of course it all depends on how well he's been able to manage this in-lap, deploying the battery, trying to build up any sort of time he can for setting these fresh set of intermediate tyres on, and then using that tyre delta advantage that he will have, and it's a very quick stop from the McLaren team there. So hopefully for his sake he'll be able to come out without having to worry about too much traffic being around him. As Kuba Wozniak dives it into the pits, as well as Timo Zelenkovic. So he should be coming out with drivers with similar age lap, you know, not necessarily too much of a difference right now. But, you know, 5-6 laps into this stint, he'll definitely see an advantage over the likes of Nicolas Longue, over the likes of Ishmael Fassi as well, to really try and battle and reclaim this race lead.
Of course, and we'll throw our tyre graphic on for you all to see who is on what lap age of tyre at the moment. Obviously, the top three haven't pitted. That's why they're on 14-lap-old inters. We can see Ishmael Fassi on 2-lap-old inters, Nicolas Longue on 3, and Otis Lawrence, who's just made his pit stop on 0-lap-old intermediate tyres. And we know that for a fact on this game, the tyre drop-off is a bit different to what it was before on F1 22. Obviously, I know we're already nearly at the end of F1 23, but we know that the tyres work a lot different, and those on the overcut tend to make it work better on the end of their stint. We can see as well Ishmael Fassi, they're making a move ahead of Nico Benz. Longue will be following in close in suit. He'll also be looking to make a move, of course, ahead of the MVR car, who is still yet to make a pit stop. We can see Tiger Hardy in P9 on the back of Will Lewis. He'll also be looking to make a move at the moment to get himself in towards PS. Obviously, he's got better tyres than Will, so he should be looking to be a bit better on pace here than the back of the Williams. And you can see they're gaining lots of time through that middle sector on the back already of the Williams as he heads through out of turn 14, and already going to make a move ahead here. Brilliant there from Tiger Hardy, making those newer inters work. And now into P8 goes the F7R. As you can see, Julian Klaffenbach takes the lead due to Pepinta, and I believe Nico Benz, they're making a pit stop as no. It'll be Nicolas Longue. I thought a fight with Nico, but no, I think Nico was just entering the pit lane.
Yeah, and it's one of those things you've got to be very careful of course, for pit lane entry around here. If a car's trying to overtake and do the up and under on you around Stowe, you know, you're going to have to back out of that battle entirely. You're going to have to slam on the brakes and dive it over to the right-hand side to make sure you can actually get into the pits. It's certainly something that I'm sure a couple of these drivers might have experienced during their time. It's something we saw in the regular season at PSGL as well, with a lot of you know, drivers having their own individual battles, some of which forgetting to pit. Sorry, Richie. But you know, it creates that little bit of atmosphere where these drivers who are on the fresher tyres, who want to try and make these moves work, need to just be aware about what the older tyres are necessarily thinking or planning to do. And certainly something that, the likes of Nicholas Longe and Ishmael Fassi have to be aware of is Otis Lawrence and the pace he has on those fresher inters, because so far he's absolutely flying. We didn't even get a chance to mention critical corners, because by the time we approached, Otis already got past.
What a move. Behind into Woodcut, ahead into Cops. Brilliant there from Otis Lawrence. And we know he's got much better pace than all of these. The wet conditions and this track just seem to go hand in hand with the Veloce Academy driver, who I still get confused by saying he's in Veloce Academy. He should be in the main team at this point, as he looks to make a move ahead here of Ishmael Fassi. Bit of contact into Stowe. He goes around the outside. Let's hope these two don't get to contact as they head down in towards the chicane. And there we are. Otis Lawrence already ahead. Nothing's going to stop him now. Otis will probably just fly away into the lead and win this race by about 15 seconds and do a Max Verstappen type race. As we can see now, it'll be Joel Marquardt battling with Louis Welch there for position in towards the chicane. Who can make the move? It'll be Louis to the inside, Joel to the outside. Joel can't really switch it back up to the inside at the exit of the corner, so it will be Louis Welch now into P10 for the SRC team. And now we'll have Julian Klafferbach into the pit lane. A very late pit stop here from the RHG Sabre, so we'll see whereabouts he comes out after this pit stop. Is going to come out behind Papinta. He could be around P17 here, which wouldn't be ideal, but we know he's got the pace to work his way back through. He was following his teammate comfortably through, obviously Tamashkel, who pitted a lot earlier. So we should see, I think we should see a good result here from Julian if he can just get his head down and get that pace unlocked and show what he's capable of here, because I think we know he's got some brilliant pace. We know he's probably one of the top 6, top 7 drivers on this grid.
Yeah, absolutely. It's unfortunate he's had a little bit of issue with lag, of course, wasn't able to participate in qualifying due to the disconnect, but we've seen through that first stint, he was able to keep pace with Tamash, he was able to follow him through on the overtake, so they worked pretty well together, navigating that little bit of traffic, and you got to think that maybe if you didn't go for this alternate strategy, he could very much be up there, battling for this P10 with the likes of Joel, with the likes of Lukomowski as well, maybe Tony Roche, but you would have thought he would have been up there, surely. Yeah,
indeed. It's a big surprise, of course, for him indeed. But looking back at the front yet again, Ishmael Fassi is now 1.5 seconds back from Otis Lawrence. And originally, the gap was, a second going in towards the pits. Otis came up behind, and within 2 laps, has stretched the gap now to over 1.5 seconds ahead. So he's gained pretty much 3 seconds on these two in the last couple of laps. At this point, the only thing that stops him is a safety car or a spin. Literally, that is it, because at the moment, no one will challenge him.
Yeah, he's just been an absolute animal, hasn't he? I mean, as much as we don't necessarily like seeing dominating drives, in traditional Formula One, when it comes over to this, esport platform that we've got with these sim racers, fantastic bits of work, fantastic bits of kit they're able to use, you can only help but stare and awe and in amazement, considering all these cars, completely equal performance. Only difference will be the setups that the engineers and the drivers all help to work on to dial in to make sure they're perfect. And Otis Lawrence, a little bit of Welsh blood, so of course, United Kingdom, not far away from the Welsh border, is clearly making it our home away from home.
Yeah, indeed, as we could see there, a penalty for Team Zelegovic in last position now, making his day even worse than it was before. And, well, I said about NVR, I said they was looking for points, and the 17th and 20th, it will be points, but definitely not many, as we can see Sheepos here looking to make a move on Tamash Gal as they head through in towards this next part of the circuit. They head in towards Baggett & Beckett's close to contact here between the two, and can Sheepos get the move done? He will get the move done ahead of Tamash Gal. Brilliant there from the Alpine, who's now looking a lot quicker, so he's got himself into a bit more dial down, he's got himself back onto pace, and now looking to close in here on the back of Will Lewis, and that could also be down to the tyre difference here. 2 laps between Tamash and Patrick, and it looks like they was in different cars completely.
Yes, absolutely. We saw how much Patrick was struggling when all the cars had that equal degradation. He didn't seem the quickest. He couldn't get the car sorted out through the corners. But it just really goes to show that, although it's only a 2-lap difference, there's an awful lot of pace to be gained by being on a tyre, which is 2 laps fresher. Yeah. And another key example of that is what Otis Lawrence is doing. Yes, he's had the pace on Ishmael Fassi, but it's not been by such a dramatic amount. Being 3.5 seconds now, it really makes you look at the likes of Will Lewis, Nicholas Longe, who went in earlier, doing a fantastic job to hold on to the likes of Tycho Hardy and Ishmael Fassi.
Indeed, and I think, obviously, looking further back now, the likes of Lenny Papinsa, Julian Klaffenbach, they'll be looking to also gain in and make some very key moves in this race on those newer tyres. So we'll see what they can manage to do, and they're just following each other through in that first sector now, gaining into the back of Black Box Race Imtiaz in P13. So they will also be looking to make more moves and get themselves in towards that top 10 possibly for their two respective teams. We can see further ahead a little bit of a battle here between Louis, Shimon and the two TF10s. That battle has literally happened all race long so far. They haven't, lost sight of each other one bit at all throughout this race so far. So we'll see who will come out ahead of those guys. And actually, we can see Nicholas Longue here gaining in on the back of Ismail Fassi through that middle sector down towards Stowe they go. I think the main battle here for the top positions is second and third.
Absolutely, but how long is this battle going to go on for? We mentioned the tyre delta difference. We saw it before. Nicholas Longue doing a tremendous job holding onto the back of Ismail Fassi on those older tyres. Yes, it's only one. It's not exactly 2 laps fresher, but got to give credit where credit's due. Nicholas Longue is keeping Ismail Fassi very, very honest and trying to pressure him into a mistake here. It's fantastic from the Ferrari driver.
Cool. What a nice move there from Julian Klaffenbach into P14. He goes ahead of Lenny Peter, and now he can dial down and catch back up to the back of Race Imtiaz. That gap, when we last talked about them about 3/4 of a lap ago, was 3 seconds. It's now 1.5. That gap has come down exponentially over these past, this past lap itself. So
And
these
I feel
two,
like...
could they make a late charge here, Josh?
Well, it all depends if we're able to get past the wall of Louis Welsh, really, doesn't it? Because so far, he's been a brick wall. No driver has been able to put their car alongside him and come out the corner ahead. It's been an absolutely fantastic drive from Louis Welsh, being able to hold off so many drivers behind him. It's really going to depend on how much Louis is willing to defend this position. And if anything, so far, more than happy to defend it with his life.
Of course, and we have our vote, Josh, don't we, in the chat for the winner prediction. We've got 72 votes so far, with half of them, so that's over 35 votes going to Otis Lawrence. We want to see more votes. There's more of you in this chat who are here, so make sure, guys, to get your votes in. But obviously, it's between Otis, Ishmael, Patrick, and Nico. We know that the three most likely options are Otis, Ishmael, and Patrick, but maybe Patrick can make a late fight because he's actually gained about 2 seconds here on the back of Will Lewis. So he's got, he's got some very good pace on those newer Inters. So maybe he can try and launch a fight here for this leading train. And actually, if we look further ahead now, Pookie is closing in on the back of Nico and Ishmael. So is Ishmael Fassi a little bit too slow here for the Ferraris? That's good for Isfan Pookie here to maybe, if they can work together, Nico and Isfan, make him to make it 2-3 for Ferrari, which obviously last season they made it a 1-3. Could make it a tad better here.
Wait.
No, a tad worse.
I was about to say, I don't think a second and a third is better than a first and a third, but nevertheless, it could still happen. Oh, it's Lawrence, which we've seen before. He's not invincible. He's only human. Young driver.
Sorry, Josh, I was watching the battle there between Shimon and Joel.
Oh, well, okay. I was watching Nicholas Longue and Ishmael Fassi because at the minute, Longue is looking to get his best cutlery out to try and make an absolute meal out of Ishmael Fassi all the way down this Wellington straight, looking to try and get a move sorted. He got very, very close on the exit of Aintree, but he just didn't seem to have that straight line speed or the traction to be able to pull alongside Ishmael Fassi, so he's just having to wait here just for a little bit longer. But all the time, that Ishmael Fassi's defending and trying to hold up Nicholas Longue. Isfan Pookie's there. What are we knowing at? Is this Klaffenbach?
It is looking to make a move here on the back of Lekomsky and Marquardt, and he got very close. So it was all weaving about trying to find where to break, and Klaffenbach was luckily behind. He makes a move round the outside of Lovefield. What a move from Julian Klaffenbach. And RHG here, Josh, they've got the setup perfect, I think. 8th and 10th so far. And this surely, if Julian catches up to Tamas Gal, he won't do too much battling, of course, with his team. As now, we can see Klaffenbach looking to take P9 here.
Yeah, and of course, he's got the fresher tyres, so we can see the amount of time he's able to gain through Maggots and Beckett's. It's almost a joke. You can see so much more grip, being able to carry the car through at a higher speed throughout the entirety of Maggots and Beckett's, even on the exit, as Klaffenbach now pulls to the inside, and we'll get that move done nice and easily, heading up into Stowe. Fantastic stuff there from Klaffenbach, but Ishmael Fassi losing the position to Nicholas Longue. Dare I sense Ferrari strategy in the works here? Maybe Longue's going to give it a little bit of a defensive line to try and force Ismail off to get Isfan Pookie through.
Well, that's what it looks like it's going to be here. You can see Nico trying to defend to let Isfan get through to let the Ferrari take P3 and make it a double podium here for the team, which at one point were thinking, are they going to get any more podiums this season? Because it's looked that way. They've took 2 podiums in the first 5 rounds. They're looking to make it 4 podiums after 6. So we'll see what they can do as they all head through now in towards this next section of circuit down at Lovefield and Woodcut. Pookie looking to make a move. Nico will be looking to defend from Ishmael to allow a nice line through to the inside or to the outside in a corner for Pookie to slot his way through. We can see obviously further back now, Julian Klaffenbach has broken free from that little battle behind, and now has got a 5.8 second gap to gain into his teammates. And then Another second and a half-ish to gain to Tycho Hardy, so maybe a top 5 is on here for Julian Klappenbach if he can get it done in the next 4 laps. Well, that isn't a long time at all. That's about, what, 5 minutes to make a move. It's going to be close, and I don't think it will be enough, but we never know what will happen in these next few laps. But Pookie now looking to gain in onto the back of Ismail Fassi. Can he make the move this time towards Stowe? Because he's burning his battery here ahead of Ishmael. Can Ishmael do anything about it is the question. To the inside goes Ishmael to make a move on the back of his Nico. And Ismail just can't find a way through here, but actually he's got a good run down towards this chicane.
Yeah, and Ishmael knows it. He takes to that inside line to go defensive, but Ishmael Pookie's so much later on the brakes. He's able to dance the car around the outside. It'll turn back to the inside, and currently looking at Ferrari second and third. I mean, I know I said in the qualifying, now is a great opportunity for Nicholas Longay to really put his stamp down and say this is where the Ferrari comeback starts. I wasn't envisioning a P2 and a P3 so far in this race, and it's been a phenomenal drive for both the Ferrari drivers to be able to get back up into this position, to really be able to try and rejuvenate a bit of life into their E-Series title defence.
Indeed, and we can see further back now, Tycho Hardy's got a train behind him. He's got Will Lewis, Patrick Sheepos, Tamas Gal all following behind, looking to make moves ahead here of the F7R driver, who doesn't look comfortable in the position he's in, but is still in a P5 position. He could still look for some very good points here tonight if he could hold off the back of the charging Williams of Will Lewis, who's looking to make it a 4-5 here for Williams as they head in towards Luffield. Now they go, and you can see that Tycho Hardy can't carry as much speed at all through as Will Lewis on the exit of Luffield. They go into Woolcott at turn number 9 and 10, and they'll look to make a move in towards, well, he won't make a move in towards Cops because he's lost some time through that section. He'll look for it down one of those back straights, maybe the Hanger straight or the Wellington straight, to get that move done and get himself into P5, because once he's got it, he's sorted.
But did you notice on his dash, he doesn't have that much battery to play with. You know, he's hovering around that 20% mark, and if you compare that to the drivers around him, Tycho's almost got a full battery, so does Patrick, and Tamas once again deploying a little bit of battery here and there. So, potentially, Will Lewis, even if he is able to get this overtake, might not be able to hold it for very long, with the likes of Patrick Sheepos here, having that battery to deploy, as we saw there, going down the Hanger straight, being forced to the outside of Stowe. Sheepos is just having to back out, but then of course, you know, it just gives him another opportunity just to wait up a little bit longer for Will Lewis to recharge a bit more battery to actually be able to defend without having to, you know, take these defensive lines, to get a little bit more grit on his tyres, to make his tyres feel that little bit worse, but already not feeling great in comparison to the likes of Tycho, Patrick. But Tamas is in the exact same boat as well.
Indeed, and we can see, of course, Ishmael Fassi looking to make a move ahead here of Isfan Pookie. Close to contact between the two as they head down in towards Brooklands corner. And now, Ishmael back on the attack here of the Ferrari. Can he look to launch a move in towards Brooklands? He pulls to the inside, breaks later, but even later goes Isfan Pookie in towards that braking zone. So no move being made there by the Williams. He's looking to make a move up the inside. It seems like so far, Ishmael's got a bit more pace here than Isfan, but he just can't find the move back ahead. He's having back what he gave earlier in terms of he had hard defence to give to Isfan, and now Isfan's got hard defence to give to him, and we can see, of course, back further along, and in P17 and 18, they're having a good battle because they're 13 seconds off the lead train. They're about 30 seconds off the leader. There's no point them bothering at all trying to catch up because they're not going to do it. So they're having a little bit of a battle for the final couple of positions here in this Grand Prix. But back near the mid-pack, yet again, Will Lewis looking to close in on Tycho Hardy, but just can't find that move to work. And only 2 laps to go here. So maybe Tycho Hardy can hold this off.
Maybe. You know, it's a massive ask. 7.4 seconds to the rear of Ishmael Fassi, about top 4, the league of their own. Tycho Hardy, best result possible here, will be a P5, but with Will Lewis going for those moves, being a little bit audacious, it creates overtaking opportunities for the drivers behind him. That's exactly what Tycho Hardy wants. He wants Patrick Sheepos to try and fight Will, put him off balance a little bit, try and give him a little something to have a think about, as we do have a retirement through Magda Beckett. So I believe that was Kuba Wozniak and Nico Benz coming together.
Yep, indeed. Contact there between the two, the Mercedes and the Haas, and well, if you're going to be last, at least don't crash, because that makes your day even worse. You've run 25 laps for nothing, pretty much at that point. We can see further ahead now, moves looking to be made, and thank you to these terrible camera angles where I can see nothing. We can see Tamas go there, launching an attack on the back of Patrick Sheepos. Bit of contact between the two as they head through, and I've got to say, there was heavy contact between Pookie and Ishmael Fassi. Now this could get personal between the two in these next couple of laps.
Yeah, absolutely. Ishvan Pookie here being shown the outside, going all the way around the outside of the field, but of course he's just going to have to tuck it back in. He's not got the luxury that Klappenbach had a couple laps ago, where he's got much fresher tyres, but heading up to critical corners for this Grand Prix. Ishmael Fassi knows it. He went off a racing line, just taking a little bit more of a defensive line. But of course, that'll give Pookie a better run, heading up towards Maggotts and Beckett. Won't be looking for a move through Maggotts and Beckett. Absolutely no way, Jose. He'll be waiting for that hanger straight, waiting for overtaking opportunity. Yellow flags won't help the scenario because we've got Kuba Wozniak there retiring in the pit lane. Unfortunate end to his race, but all eyes are going to be on Istvan Pookie and Ishmael Fassi for the remainder of this race. Istvan Pookie watching, waiting, lurking, keeping to that racing line, with Ishmael Fassi having to go all the way to the right to try and defend, but it's just not enough. Istvan Pookie gets that move done and dusted, heading up through Stowe. But how long is he going to be able to hold on to this with 1 lap remaining?
Wow.
Surely Ishmael's in the driving seat to make a move here.
This is a battle for the podium between Ishmael and Istvan, and this could be a brilliant battle between the two to fight for P3 here in this race. Because look at the straight line speed here, which Ishmael can carry through wit, which Istvan can't. They're heading towards turn 3 now. Istvan will look to the inside. Ishmael looks to the outside into turn 3. They go side by side. Into turn 4 goes the Williams up the inside. Can he get the move complete ahead at the Ferrari? He looks to make it done, but Istvan will be looking to get a bit of a switchback here through and towards turn 4 and 5, but still can't find it done. But the key thing here, Josh, Istvan's got 40% of battery.
Yes, he's got it to dump, but I don't think he's even looking to dump it here, is he? He's just using the slipstream, using that natural pace to try and follow himself through, knowing that he's able to carry more speed through Maggotts and Beckett. He saw it last lap. He may be able to take an opportunity down the hanger straight. Surely he's just waiting for that opportunity once again, but has Ishmael grown wise to it? Is Ishmael going to necessarily try and defend, or is he going to let him go through a racing opportunity here in Cops to try and get that slipstream once again, as they do go through Cops side by side? Very stern driving. Thankfully, no one in the barricade this time, but Istvan Pookie really looking hungry to get his overtake, to get himself back on the podium. I wouldn't want to call this any other way.
This last lap is going to be brilliant here as they head down towards Stoke Corner, but I don't think there's anything these two can really do to fight. We'll obviously look back now to the front so we can see Otis Lawrence, who comes through into the final couple of quarters now to take victory here in Silverstone. A dominant race from Veloci Academy, 12 seconds to lead, and they will finish that far ahead. But we'll look back down now to battle for P number 3, and it will be Istvan who I think will take that P3 home. It'll be Nicholas Longe who takes P2 here in Silverstone, and Istvan Pookie makes it a 2-3 for the Ferrari team to get a double podium for the first time this season, and Ishmael Fassi will come home short in P4. Then we have Tygo Hardy who comes home P5 after a stellar defence on the last couple of laps, and it'll be Will Lewis in P6, Patrick Sheepos in P7, and RHG. What a race from then to move up from 16th and 20th to 8th and 9th, and Joel Marquardt for TF10 rounds out the top 10. I believe that might be TF10's last point score. That's top 10, I think, for a couple of rounds.
Could have a little quick look at that, but yeah, that was absolutely fantastic there. Brilliant racing from Istvan and Ishmael respectively, keeping it honest, keeping it fair between them, each other, not necessarily, fighting to the world's end. They understand the role they're in. Just bringing home a good couple of points is absolutely, well deserved, well earned, and I can confirm that'll be their first top 10 since they managed to secure a P4 around the circuit of Catalunya.
Indeed, and well, it was a brilliant race, wasn't it, here tonight in Silverstone, and it was just a dominant performance all the way through for Otis Lawrence, who wins the race by just over 13 seconds. The only driver to get in the 34s, and he had a 34.4. What a performance there from him. Absolutely unstoppable in that race. And it will be Nicholas Longe in second and Istvan Pookie in third, ahead of Ishmael Fassi. That battle between those two was very, very personal on those last couple of laps, but also very brilliant to see indeed. Then Tygo Hardy in P5, Will Lewis P6, Patrick Sheepos in P7, Tamas Gal P8 and Julian Klapperbach P9 with Joel Marquardt rounding out the top 10. Then we had Louis Welch in 11th, Shimon Komsky in P12, Tony Rochane 13th, Olympic Pinter P14, Black Box in P15, Ricardo Benzoni P16, Frank Mraviak 17th, Timo Zelenkovic in 18th, and then we did lose Kuba and Nico on the last couple of laps of the race. You know what? I enjoyed that for a wet race all the way through. I don't normally like a fully wet race, but that was entertaining to say the least.
Yes, it absolutely was. I know we both had our, opinions about Silverstone, not always generating the best racing on this game, but I'd like to think we've both been proven horribly wrong. That was an absolutely just through and through fantastic race from every single one of these drivers. But if we've got to give driver a day to one driver, I think there's only one driver who could wholeheartedly take it. Otis Lawrence. What a drive.
Yeah, just unstoppable the whole way through, and hopefully and we'll get him in for a chat as well to discuss why he was so quick. And he's already in the waiting room waiting. He knows he's happy. He knows he's ready for an interview. So we'll drag him up. We'll pop ourselves the interview screen on right now. And of course, these brilliant graphics. I can't remember who they're made by, but whoever made them, brilliant. They're absolutely superb. Of course, and we can now get Otis in for a quick chat. Otis, mate, welcome into the chat.
Hello.
P1, led by 13 seconds, had the fastest lap by quarter mile. There's nothing really else you could do there, was there?
Yeah, I think we peaked today. I think it was a grand slam. So yeah, we did a good drive today. Our strategy was on point as well. So yeah, I'm very happy with the win. Might be my last league race on F133 at the moment. So yeah, it's good if it is, ends it well. And yeah, I'm happy, and I'll hopefully do the same next time.
Yeah, obviously, it was just such a dominant performance. What is there a secret to why you were so quick? Because no one could do anything to match you at all. No one was even close. It's like watching Max Verstappen in real life. There was nothing at all to fight with.
Honestly, the setup felt perfect. Everything felt really good. I felt really strong in the wet conditions as well. And yeah, obviously, at the start of the race, it was kind of thing to get used to because I've been sweating a lot of Irish in the wet. So a lot different, obviously. But yeah, it's fun still on the F1 game, just as fun. And yeah, we nailed it today. Everything was perfect, and I managed to make the best of it.
Of course, and I think. Can I say one more thing, Josh, and then you can continue?
Oh, go on, mate.
So
go on,
I was going to say, obviously, Otis, back at the start of your PC campaign, wasn't it a wet race where you won your first PSGL race? Was it France, wasn't it? I think.
No, it was qualifying. I got pole in France. It was just qualifying. It wasn't a wet race.
Oh well, I thought I was right, but no.
It was WR, I think. I think it was WR that was in the wet.
Indeed, but still a brilliant performance, mate. That's all from me. Oh, Josh, you can now carry on with what you was going to say.
Yeah, Otis, just remind those in the chat who, might not be familiar with how young you are. I mean, for a driver sensible as that, having to overtake some top quality esport drivers and make it look easy. I mean, how do you have that experience being such a young gun? It's fantastic.
Yeah, I am 15 years old, and honestly, like, there's loads of young people racing now. I mean, you see the F2 like type of people. You got Nico Benz, who's like 13 or 14, and we've got so many young drivers, and so I don't think it's like age is everything, because there's a lot of young drivers on the blocks, so yeah, there isn't. I don't think it's like uncommon to see them, to be honest. So yeah, I just drive how it is. I don't really focus on how old someone is or how old I am. I just try to do the best I can in a race, and yeah, try and bring home the best results I can.
I mean, it's absolutely fantastic, and you set an example to those other young drivers, such as Nico Benz, showing that age doesn't really matter. Experience is all earned out on the track, and the more you can take away from it at a younger age, the more rewards you're going to end up reaping. And you've shown that here today in a multitude of ways, negotiating yourself through drivers who are on slightly older tyres, pulling away when you need to, holding pressure against the likes of Ishmael Fassi. It was altogether a fantastic drive. So very well done, mate.
Thank you very much. I hope you guys enjoyed the race.
Indeed, we did. Apart from the fact you was how far ahead.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
Have a good run,
Right, I'm good, guys.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We'll have a little bit more of a wait to see if we get any of the Ferraris in Nico and Nissan. We'll wait a second, and if not, then we'll end it off. But what a brilliant race. I noticed that yet again, brilliant to have him in the interview room, as he always is when he gets in the top three. And I think he was quite happy with the win, and I'm sure he well deserves to be happy with it because it was a perfect performance. And you've got to discuss, yes, we talked about the fact he was like Max Verstappen, but they're in equal cars. It's a different story, isn't it, Josh?
Yes, it's a whole different story, as well as it not being a Red Bull as well. No, but but it's just the level of maturity he has to be able to go into an interview room, understand, yeah, this is good for him, it's good for his future.
Yeah.
Having these sort of results, not getting carried away, not necessarily, running his mouth with the ego in the interview room. It really goes and it sets a standard for a lot of drivers who are on the younger end in different leagues, lower divisions at PSGL, just being able to find themselves into that, beautiful window where they can try and perform to the most of their abilities. But I have noticed a cheeky couple which have just popped into the waiting room. Should we move them up?
We'll drag them up indeed. So, Welcome into the two Ferrari boys. Obviously, first we'll chat with Nico. So P2, in the end, brilliant job. But it's just a shame that you finished 13 seconds back off the leader. But either way, I think you did a brilliant job throughout. What was kind of going on through that race for you, Nico?
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, that was a long race to say the least. I knew that I wasn't going to fight for the win after the first stint because I just made a few mistakes and I killed my tires very quickly. So I knew I had to pit early. But my full focus was on Ismail because I knew he had fuel problems. So at that point, already within the first few laps, I knew I was just going to focus on Ismail and do like an undercut, which worked. So my focus just was not on Otis anymore. I knew he was going to take the win, and I just wanted good points for the team and help Istvan pass Ismail as well. So I kept lifting and trying to see if I could give him some slipstream or I don't know. So anyway, Otis was just too fast anyway tonight, and good job to Istvan as well because he also had some fuel issues apparently.
Yeah.
So it was a good and strong result anyway.
Of course, I think obviously it's good for the team to be second and third. You're still about, I think, 60 or something points back from the championship leader. So obviously, we've only got, I think, 5 rounds left after this. You still think that the team could try and fight for the championship here?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you said it. I mean, there's still 5 races. I think we're like halfway through, so everything is still possible, especially with how the points work in this championship. A good result for us and a bad result for the guys ahead, and it's a very big swing in points.
Indeed. So, Nico, well done on the P2, mate. Anything from you, Josh?
Yeah, I've got a little something for Ishmael. Ishmael put up a very solid defense against you, Istvan. How was you able to keep you calm there? Because for me, personally, watching that, I was getting infuriated. Just so you know, Ferrari fan, when I saw Ishmael going defensive on you, I was very worried. But you negotiated it perfectly. You worked together great with Longue. I mean, it was a hole in hole, a fantastic end to the race. But just run us through those last couple of laps, Istvan. How was you able to deal with Ishmael and the sort of techniques he was using for different lines?
Yeah, I think I knew that I'm gonna be on a lower wing compared to everyone, so I tried to use that for my advantage and gain in a certain place of the track where he can't come back anymore. And after the first overtake I made on Ismail, I was trying to save some fuel as well because I had to lift in the last 5 or 4 laps to make it, and we were trying to use Nico to give his slipstream for the less fuel usage per lap. And it was working quite well, but Ismail started using the ERS again, and of course he knew that we are gonna do that until the end of the race. So it was his only chance to fight back as quick as possible, and I was trying to play it smart and keep it patient because I knew I have the better straight line speed, and if I can stay close into the S's and I don't make a big mistake, then it should be fine for me into Stowe. And I also knew that I have way more yards than him the whole race. So yeah, after I got overtaken again, we just told Nico to push and don't give Ismail slipstream, so it would be even easier for me. And eventually it worked out. So I just had to use all my yards last lap and stay close into the S. So it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, it turned out beautifully. Got yourself on podium. But I do have one final question. It goes to both of you. Obviously, next week, Imola, Italy. Are you looking to try and get a 1-2 there? Home race?
Yeah, that's our aim for every race. But of course, if it's in Italy, then yeah, it will be even better. I think I'm gonna driving it, but I don't know about Nico.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I will be doing it, but either way, the team will push for the 1-2 always.
Lovely stuff. Thank you again for joining us. We'll let you run off to your debrief. But again, solid result once again. P2, P3. Can't be too disappointed with it. Looking forward to see you catch up in the championship.
Thank you very much, guys. I wish you a good evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Good evening, guys. Ciao.
Ciao.
All right, so we'll head back now over towards the intermission screen once I've hidden the Discord chat. I like to remember that last second. I nearly did it again. I remember the last time it was a picture of Jona Martins eating a burger.
No,
the last time I switched back.
Don't need to see that one again. Sorry, Yoda. I know you're in chat there, but
we're back, and what a race it was. It was great to see all of our top 3 in the interview room as well. I think it's one of the first times we spoke to Istvan and Nico in the E-Series chat, so it's nice to see them back on top form for the Ferrari team. But I think overall, the key thing to take away from this is championship-wise, it's getting closer again now because some of the top teams had a bit of a, I wouldn't say failure, but didn't get quite this points they would have probably wanted. Whereas Ferrari benefited. They will now catch up easily, and I think that's got around something like 40 points in that race. So
Yeah,
they're going to be now right behind the back of SRC and RHG.
I think the term we're going to have to use here is maybe a fumble. It's not over. They can recover it, but at the same time, the momentum swung. You can quite easily tell that. Both Ferrari guys came in happy, looking positive, right? They wanted to express themselves. The joy they found, they fully believe they can run back this championship. They can get it back to back. And talking to them, you know, call it bias. It might be a little biasy from inside me, but I believe what they're saying. They're hungry to defend this championship.
Yeah, indeed. I think it's going to be a hard one, but I think they can definitely do it. And there's still 5 rounds left to go. 5 difficult tracks to obviously navigate their way through. But obviously, make sure you guys to join us back next week for Imola for round 7 of the championship, a track we haven't been to before in ECOs, I believe. So it'll be a brand new one to. Well, I don't think brand new to any of the drivers, but it will definitely be something a bit different for them all to get and navigate their way through. So obviously make sure you guys to join us next week yet again for the Series Championship. Once again, thank you all for joining into the chat. Obviously, thank you to our sponsors over at GT Omega and Team Racing Centre. So for now, have a good one and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.